Welcome to Shakeshero, the podcast that bridges the gap between you and all things Shakespeare. I'm Chloe Baldwin.
I'm Paul Stafford, and today we're talking about a 1993 film production of Much Ado About Nothing, directed by Kenneth Brannagh.
Our best friend.
Our best friend. He's another one. I blame you for this because you said like he's in it, but he didn't direct it. And
That's what I thought.
I look it up.
I was wrong.
Totally him. But
I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong.
but it was an honest mistake. It was a star-studded cast when I looked it up for this research to find out that Denzel Washington, Emma Thompson, Keanu Reeves,
Yes.
Kate Beckinsale, Michael Keaton, and Imelda Staunton
Yeah.
are all in this movie.
Yes.
It made me very
He's got
excited.
the hookup with those stars.
And this was like Denzel was like hot in '93.
I know.
So was Keanu.
I
So
feel
was
like-
Michael Keaton.
I feel like these are all people that like went to drama school and did Shakespeare in drama school and haven't had the opportunity since.
All these,
on the big stage.
it doesn't
The
feel like a
world
money.
stage.
It doesn't feel like a money choice.
It doesn't. It feels
Yeah.
like a passion choice, which is cool.
Yeah.
I like that
But
part about it.
I still think they swung and missed.
I do too.
This
I'm
was
glad they swung. I'm sorry they missed.
This was a kind of a first for me. Like, I've seen a production of Much Ado About Nothing. I realized it was a comedy, but I didn't really understand what was going on. But I got a lot of the jokes by inflection when I had seen it on stage.
When and where did you see it? Was it
years ago.
just a long time ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Kingsman that did it. I
Funny.
know they did Love's Labor's Lost. I can't remember what the other play they did that year. But it might have been before that. But I know I've seen a production of this.
Yeah,
And
Kingsman is like where we met in LA and where
It's
you were.
the college that I was attending
Yeah.
hosted a Shakespeare company in the summers, and they would have it, and I would work on it. But anyway, that's not the one we're talking about. We're
Yeah.
talking about this one. But it's special to me because this is it's probably the first time where I didn't like something, or I was like losing it, but I knew why I was losing it, and I had an opinion on what I thought it should have been.
Yeah, when you were saying stuff like that, that was really impressive to me, especially because a lot of the times you were like, this should be more like this. I was like, this is like spot on. This is totally what I would do.
This is the first time that happened to me. That
Yeah.
I see where it could have gone, but like I could, but that's just.
And not every moment that you're talking about was like this, but I feel like the overall, like the thing that I heard you say the most that I was in agreement with that was a kind of a note across this whole thing was like, that was funny. That was meant to be played for comedy, and they were playing it kind of up their own butt and like kind of dramatic. And I get it, because if you just look at it on the page, I could totally see how you'd play it that way. I could totally see how, like, you know, if you're used to doing a lot of very dramatic Shakespeare, you could see it that way and be like, oh, like, this is a dramatic moment.
Yeah.
But it
felt like
is
they
for
were
the character,
forcing the drama.
and it felt like they were forcing the drama in the tone of the direction or the tone of the whole piece, as opposed to like, this is serious for my character, but if we take a step back, this is funny.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, like, some of the things are so ridiculous that I had a problem with the characters believing it, being serious about it.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, there's, like, a theater thing that you do, like, a way that you talk. Like, there's certain, like, kind of theater tropes. I don't know, I don't have the right vocabulary for this, but, like even when someone is, like, buying something and being serious, you know, like, I'm even scared to do an impression of it, but, like when you talk like this and you're doing all these things.
Well,
like,
don't do that.
Like, yeah, not doing that. But, I mean, my point is that, like, people can recognize that as, like, a theater, like, kind of style. And
I'm not going to agree with you on this.
Let me go and find let me fumble my way to this point.
Sure.
But like there are times in theater where like a character is like really mad and like super mad, but it's like played for comedy. And I don't know like how to really categorize that, but like
I would describe that maybe as like having good timing, like having good comedic timing, or having because it's interesting being an actor and playing something for comedy, right? Because you've got the part of you that is having the metacognition to go, oh, this is funny for the audience, and if I play it this way, it's funny. Mm-hmm. But you also have to have the groundedness in the character to say what choice actually makes sense for this character, even if the character's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
it's kind of having both.
There's a situation where forgive me for not having like the perfect example for this, but there's a situation where the character could be like hitting rock bottom and crying and being super serious about it, and the audience is dying. Like there's that stuff can happen.
Absolutely.
And so
that's what I'm saying.
But also like there's things that help that in the context of like maybe where the characters are on stage, maybe like whatever, how everyone else is reacting to it.
Yes, that's a huge thing too, and we'll get into that too.
And then, but like certain times in the movie, they were playing it so serious, but like I think they just gave it to somebody like, hey, score this, and they also like, the editor wasn't quite on that beat. I don't know who edited it. I don't know if Kenneth Brannagh was in the editing room, but it wasn't. We didn't have all that context that informed that comedy. It was just like a tight shot on somebody as they were just like emoting and having all these emotions, and the music was all serious, and like everything about the movie was telling you this is serious.
Right.
Yet I feel like that line is just so cringy and is not right, and like the way they were putting it out there felt like you guys should be taking this super seriously.
I agree. I think that was the problem.
But that was like obvious to me. Like this is supposed to be funny. Like,
yeah, it felt like the movie was telling me it was supposed to be dramatic. I think that's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, and I think we had talked about this before too. Like, I another reason was that also I've seen enough theater and enough Shakespeare at this point to understand like when Kenneth Brannagh was trying to be funny. Yeah. But like when he was messing with the little chair and stuff like that. But because they had a movie, they had editing power, and they were just like, okay, well, Kenneth, we'll just have you do all this, and we'll cut between these two shots, and they're like piecemealing the movie together.
But it didn't really specifically plan it out. It felt like
exactly like whatever, however they planned it, they made it done in the same day, but it just in the edit it didn't work. Yeah, and because we've edited stuff together, and I've also done this with songs. Like if you maybe don't know the song very well, and then you try to just like sing one line and piece it together one line at a time, you may get all those one lines like good, but the song will sound very disjointed and kind of like sterile.
That makes so much sense.
And so a lot of the comedy, I think, that was the problem with it. Like he was like messing with the chair and like was hiding behind some bush, and the other people were like, oh, let's talk so he can hear us because we know he's there, and like it was very slapsticky, very like physical. Yeah. And I can totally see how that would have worked on stage. Yeah. And been hilarious. But the movie was just like, it's just stuff happening in order.
It's so funny too because it's like it's a really good script, and I feel like of his plays, like, this is one that I would put in the top 5 of, like, this is one of the ones you should see first, or this is one of the ones that could get you interested, because the plot's pretty straightforward, the comedy is funny, and, like, it's just, you don't need to have too much context going into it. Yeah. So it's a good one for...
Everybody introduces themselves very clearly.
Absolutely. We get introduced to the characters as they come back together after being apart for a long time, so they have to relearn each other.
Exactly. All the characters are meeting like a whole town full of people they never met, so it's like everybody has to learn them, right? Are they from this town?
A lot of people have met before. It's just that like they haven't seen each other in a while because of this war.
Oh, I thought they were coming to the town for the first time.
It's I honestly am not sure.
I guess we'll get into that.
But it's for sure that like they're coming back from the war. They know Leonardo and his family. So like Beatrice knows Benedict.
I guess what we're getting at is that it's clear enough without context. That's our conclusion for the script. Like it's
clear. Yeah. It's clear enough for the things we care about. Yeah. So yeah. What was I gonna say?
I don't
know. Do you want to hear my like top things going to the show?
Exactly. If I'm going to go see the show for the first time, and I know very little about Shakespeare, other than that he's famous and maybe seen a production or two, what should I think about going into this play? What would help me understand it?
So the top things are, you should go into this play knowing. So this is what I'd lay out for someone real quick if we were about to walk into the theater. So Leonardo is the dad of Hero, and Hero's a girl. Leonardo is the uncle of Beatrice, but we don't see Beatrice's parents in this play. So Beatrice's parents are not in this play. We don't really know what happened to them, but she's basically growing up in Leonardo's household, so probably something bad. Antonio is the brother to Leonardo, so Antonio is the uncle to both Beatrice and Hero, but isn't Beatrice's dad. I feel like that's something that can get confused pretty easily.
I thought it was Beatrice's dad. I mean, right. I assumed it was, just because there's 2 guys, and there's 2... daughter, and there's 2 young the next generation daughters,
yes.
And like both are called niece by the opposite dad.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So I feel like that's an important one, and it just helps characterize Beatrice is kind of more independent than Hero is. Hero's got a dad who's like, hey, do this, Hero, and Beatrice is like, I do what I want. Okay. The other thing that I would say is like, just a heads up as we're going into this, Beatrice and Benedict are going to have a cool battle of wits at the beginning, and this is something that I was thinking about in terms of like what needs to happen in the first couple minutes of this show that like shows us what's going on, and I was also thinking about this in terms of this production, we can get into that when we get into not season one, scene one, season one. But a battle of the wits is coming up between Beatrice and Benedict, so look out for that and how they play that. And the third thing, there are only really 3 things. The third thing is that the group of men that you see, the group of probably young men, is a group that's coming back from a war, coming to stay with Leonato and his family for a month. And that's all you need to know, I think. I mean, those are the important things.
Yeah.
There's plenty more to know. But if I had like 5 minutes with somebody and they were like, I'm going to see Much Ado, what should I know? I know nothing about Shakespeare, the context of this. I'd be like, here are like the main points so that you don't have to worry about that walking.
Yeah, because you may that's like them staying for a month is part of like kind of the backdrop. They do say it in the beginning, but then then everybody just goes on existing and you kind of forget like the implications of that aren't necessarily clear. Right.
And I think too, it's good if you're like putting on a production of this to realize those are things you should ping for an audience. Yeah. Like, so everybody make sure it's really clear. We're staying for a month. We just came back from war. Like maybe that's in the costume.
But this is one of the things that I thought was important. Yeah. Because what I thought was that like it was like soldiers being like having to be put up by civilians. I thought soldiers. I thought the war was still going on necessarily. Maybe they won some battles. Maybe they have a respite. But they are coming and they're like, hey, we're soldiers for this country. We protect you. So now you're going to put us up for a month. And these people just happen to be happy about it because in this town, they're like soldiers.
It's definitely like peacetime. I'm pretty sure that like the war is done. And they're done. Yeah. So, because they keep talking about like, especially Benedict to Claudio is saying things like, I guess more Claudio to Benedict is saying, like, I know that I was super intense in wartime and we were friends and we got along because of that. And we were like on the same page. But now it's peacetime and now I want to think more happy thoughts about love and romance.
Got it. So
and you're still grumpy.
Yeah, they don't necessarily know who we're talking about yet. But yes. But you're just pinging an example of somebody saying that it was peacetime. Right. Okay, so that's a good point. I think that's something that should be pinged in the beginning because that does inform the context of like what's going on.
Yeah, like I would love if like they get on stage and I liked their entrance. This
is how we're here. This is why we're here. Yeah, and we're staying for this long.
Totally, I would love to see like if they get on and they're like in some sort of uniform and they're like taking off the uniform, which I guess kind of happened in this one where they got naked and we saw their butts. But, that's true. But I feel like even just like if you're wearing a jacket and pants that are clearly a uniform and everybody like takes off their jacket to be like, oh, we're here, it's chill.
Maybe in the first because they were like because all of their demeanor. I mean that is very like military to like you're once you're in for life. You're never out. Like Marines when they retire, they're always Marines. Right. That's their attitude, and that is very true to a lot of the military mentality. Yeah. So like for Benedict, he's like. Yeah, so I mean, I get why I'm not necessarily mad at the fact that they like didn't take off their jackets. Like that doesn't really ring. Like I imagine they draw a lot of pride and identity from being part of the military.
Totally, I'm not saying that was wrong. I'm saying it could be an interesting choice in a future production. I'm not even saying for this production. It would have been weird. You hate the military, right? I'm saying I hate everything about Shakespeare, the military, people, Kenneth Brannagh, you, and myself.
That informs everything I know about you.
Right, for sure. But I'm saying like if it's. Like, if there's some moment from Don Pedro, who's the guy in charge of them, who's like, they come in, they're marching in, and they have their uniforms on, and then Don Pedro's like, and we'll stay here for a month, and then everybody goes, woo, and takes out their jackets and swing them around in the air. It's Magic Mike. It's not Magic Mike, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying.
Yes. Okay. We all get what you're saying.
Great, we all get it. You're being so clear.
Chloe wants to see that naked.
I don't. That's not what this podcast is about.
Every scene, Chloe's screaming, "Take it off!"
No, I'm not.
Speaking of which, I guess we'll get into the summary.
Let's get into the summary. What happens in this play, Paul?
So much. I think it made me more frustrated than I usually am from not following it, because I usually blame myself for a lot of it, for not getting it. I'm like, did I drift off or what?
But now you know.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I saw where it could have gone. And some things were like so clear that it blows my mind that they made that choice.
I agree.
And we'll get to that. Yeah. But the very first opening scene, I immediately, inside me, I was just like, ugh.
Tell them what happened.
You seem like it's up its own ass. Yeah. And it's just Emma Thompson just reading this poem. I don't remember what she's saying.
We don't see her.
It's just like the text in old, script. I don't know what the font is, but like calligraphy of of like of the text of the Shakespeare poem that I imagine is in the text somewhere, but she's reading it like this. It's just like a fairy tale, and she's like delivering exposition, but it's not exposition. It's just like, I don't know what the poem is, like something hey nani nani, something like, and I've heard it in songs, I've heard it in other Shakespeare plays.
Can I tell you what I think happened in? So it's the song that we were talking about that's in Act 2, Scene 3 or Act 3, Scene 2.
I remember
it's in the play.
Yeah, I remember it.
But she's reading it as this like poetry reading at the beginning. And what I think happened, either like from Kenneth Brannagh or the producers who were like, they're not going to get it. You need a minute to let them like drop into it.
I still didn't get it.
I know. So I think what the intention was to help people drop in more slowly. And what it did was totally alienate the audience. Because I could see them being like, so what we'll do is we'll start with, it's a black screen and you're just having the words come across the screen, right? And then what we'll do is like, you know, you see Emma Thompson and she's just reading out of a book, so you don't have to worry about any action, it's just her saying words. But it has the opposite effect because it's just her saying words. It doesn't have anything to do with the plot. So she's just saying words that we can't relate to.
Exactly. The words that she's saying are like, this poem is not something that we would understand.
Right. And the thing that happens right after the first line of this play is like, hey, Leonardo, here's a letter. Like, which we get. It's like, if somebody says to you, hey, here's a letter, you understand that it's a letter. You get the words letter. It's not that hard. And plus, if he has a letter in his hand and is handing it to him, you're like, oh, he's probably saying, hey, there's a letter.
And everyone. So we fade out to Emma Thompson like reading it, and you know what actually, and she's like holding some grapes and she's reading it and on like just a beautiful hillside treetop, and like a bunch of people that are dressed like they're in the 1800s. Mm-hmm. They all are just loving it. They're eating it up. It's like they're watching their favorite movie. They're all like emoting all over the place because she's saying something so beautiful. But again, the audience can't relate because we don't understand what the fuck she's saying. And the kind of the image they were painting reminded me of like kind of like an adaptation of like a Greek painting. Yeah. Where like the grapes really did it for me. Yeah. And
it's a pastoral basically.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And I kind of got that, but I just thought it was. I don't know. I don't give something.
But my problem with it is like there are pastorals and Shakespeare wrote some. Winter's Tale has a huge pastoral moment.
We should talk about or define what a pastoral is.
Yes. So a pastoral is basically, I'm not quite sure the exact definition, but I'm going to give you kind of the swath of how I would interpret it. It's we're all outside having a picnic. Isn't this lovely? Like, I picture a very summertime nature-y painting where we're having a picnic. The grapes in Emma Thompson's hands is like a very clear celebration of Dionysus, like kind of like not sexy as in like, oh, we're having a sexy time, but it's like we're wearing less clothes because it's summer and we're relaxed and like we're feeling our in our bodies, and it's
like
just
a symbol of fertility or something.
Fertility is a great aspect of it. It's just, you know, it's just celebrating youth and being outdoors. There's usually a sheep or a goat involved in some way. Like just like picturesque rural kind of stuff happening. Ew, gross. Yeah, so it's especially like in Shakespeare's England, where they're all living in the dirty, cramped city. It's like, oh, imagine if you lived in the countryside and like there's sheep.
Wow, I still struggle with like because again that makes sense, but like how much about that am I supposed to know? Like
it doesn't. Okay, here's the thing: we can talk about pastorals when we get to pastorals. This is not a pastoral. This is comedy. Yeah. This is nothing. Okay. Nothing to do with pastoral.
But this is another thing that I'm still confused on that we haven't really defined. And like, so a pastoral is a genre of play.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and like with Shakespeare, he combines genres a lot, but I don't think there's. If there are any aspects of a pastoral in Much Ado, I don't think they're big enough to warrant the choice of saying this is a pastoral now, or this is at least 40% pastoral.
So if I may regurgitate, let me see how close I'm hitting it. Yeah. Just because I still don't think the definition of a pastoral is clear. Like a pastoral is like I had a friend who. I think I had another friend who made movies, and he described the movies he made as like Sunday movies. Nice movies that you could go take your grandma to see, and it's about like a very happy, nice story that has this beautiful, like little bit of romance, but not too much drama, and then has an arc, and then it's over, and it was just nice. Is that like supposed to be kind of what a pastoral is?
I would say that I just looked up a definition. A specific definition of a pastoral, and I think this is a perfect one, is a work of literature portraying an idealized version of country life.
Oh, okay. And so that's a whole genre.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I guess I don't see where it fits, like, in the historical backdrop of, where... I mean, I'm sure it does, because it is.
Play?
I'm not,
it doesn't.
I'm not questioning its validity as existing, but I mean... I don't have enough context, and I still think it's difficult to, like, I would need a lot of examples to understand what a pastoral is.
Yeah.
But apparently, so what we're saying is that was a genre. Shakespeare mixed genres a lot, so he kept put elements of some in the other. And then we think Kenneth Brannagh mischaracterized this play as a pastoral, as opposed to what it should have been, which is a comedy.
I think he really overplayed the pastoral aspects that should be very small or non-existent.
Yeah.
And I think he also played up the drama that I think should be not non-existent, but very small. And I think that he underplayed the comedy.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%.
I think it's at least 60%, if not 80% comedy, 2% pastoral, and like 15 to 10% drama.
Yeah, and we will get into those scenes, because I really want to talk about them, but I really had to like get that out, because I didn't really understand what the target was.
Totally. And I think that first scene, and I think that we're finding this a lot, is we talk about the first scene a lot with these, because it ends up setting the stage for the rest of the play. And so if it kind of gets us off on the right track, we're doing great. If it gets us off on the wrong track, it's going to send us down a really weird path.
Yes, I agree. So now, get to second scene 2, or still scene 1. So they're on this hillside eating these grapes, listening to, and everybody's just like, oh God, I feel like everyone is just indicating.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, oh, this is the best fucking poem I have ever heard. And then somebody's like, look, here these people come, and they look over the hillside, and it's just like a bunch of people on horses, and you're like, and everyone's so excited that these people on horses are coming.
Yeah, and they all...
Okay,
I'm sorry.
So then they don't get there yet. So they all run away, and they all running down the hillside, and everybody's going to go greet them. And then it goes into this super long shot of all the people close up on the horses, and it's Denzel, and it's Kenneth Brannagh, and it's Keanu Reeves, and they all have the smuggest look on their face, like, we fucking did it, we won that war. And then it cuts to like a wide shot of like the Magnificent Seven, and all of them on horseback in unison do like a huge like fist bump into the air, and they're like, Black Power. I didn't say that, but that just you know the motion.
You know the motion we're talking about, yeah.
And it is the corniest shit ever. And that's the first thing of like, but they played it so serious, and I think Chloe knew it was supposed to be a comedy, so she was like, oh, that's hilarious, and they were trying to make it hilarious. I don't think they were trying to make it hilarious.
No, in the moment, I was like, they're trying to make it hilarious, because this is so funny, and like, they are smug.
That's hilarious, yeah.
Which is hilarious, and without the context of the rest of this production, I was like, this is great. Okay, that moment is great. I didn't like the Emma Thompson thing. They can still save it. Let's go.
Are you in an abusive relationship with this movie?
Yes, it's just like you and Taming, except it worked out. It worked out for you guys. I'm so happy for you guys.
Dude, I was like, there's no like.
Well, it's you with Petruchio, but that's a good
I don't know, man. Yeah, they were. It was not played for comedy, in my opinion.
No, it wasn't. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Looking back at the fact that
this is like Tommy Wiseau's The Room. Like everyone, like he played it serious, and everybody thought it was hilarious. It was like, oh yeah, it's great, it's hilarious. I tried to make it funny.
Right.
So then they do that, and then now it cuts to the scene of everyone. All the girls are just getting naked. They're just running all through the showers and running through their houses, and they're all undressing, and Emma Thompson's undressing, and then like Kate Beckinsale's undressing, and I'm like, are they about to like flash them through the windows?
I thought they might too.
I thought they were.
That would be such a Beatrice movie.
Yeah, there was boobies everywhere, and so they're all getting undressed, and like I kept thinking, I'm like, Kenneth Branagh, you dug.
Yeah, I know.
This was unnecessary.
I was like, this is just like the scene in Hamlet.
They could have just been happy to see them, but
Winslet.
apparently they were all like bathing.
We're like, we gotta shower.
Yeah, like we stink, guys. We gotta shower before these soldiers get here. Gotta impress them. Anyway, so and then the guys get there. And then suddenly all the guys are getting naked too, but we don't see any of the main characters get naked.
No,
we just
none of them actually.
But we do see a bunch of dudes get naked too.
You see a lot of butts.
Is butts and hair everywhere. Everyone's showering. I don't know why that scene was necessary, but I'm sure it's some reason that could be explained to me. But that was ridiculous. And
I'm not gonna defend it.
Oh, another like a small thing was that like Emma Thompson was reading, and then they saw that the soldiers were coming in. Everybody was excited, but Emma Thompson was like rolling her eyes. She was like. Yeah,
For a second,
she's like, oh, whatever. And which was like already kind of endearing in some character development. Like, okay, yeah, everyone
she was
else
talking about Benedict. She was like, "Oh, is Benedict coming?" And they're like, "Oh yes, he's coming." And she's like, "Oh, he's stupid." And everyone's like, "LOL."
Exactly. Everybody's like,
my favorite part of that.
Everybody
scene.
else is treating them like rock stars, and she's like, "Oh my god, yeah, he just plays a guitar. Who cares?"
Yeah, exactly.
He's not God. Like, chill out. And that was kind of her attitude, which was great. I mean, there was some character development, it's like a little contention. I was like, I want to see where this goes. But then when everybody starts running to be excited when they came, she's just as excited as everybody, which was, I guess, towards the end of the movie you'll find out is right, but it didn't. I don't think it was very true to the character.
Yeah, no, I feel like she should still. It would be hilarious. I was saying this to Paul too when it was happening. I was like, this scene would be so funny. Like, I'm not sure why we're watching this scene, but it would be so funny and it would totally check out if Emma Thompson the whole time is getting like pushed down this hallway of butts and is so grumpy about it, and everyone else is like, let's scrub, let's get clean, and Emma Thompson's just grumpy the whole time, and everyone else is like, yay, pastoral, we love it, and it would just be so funny if she was the only one who's like, I hate this.
This is the movie of a million missed opportunities.
I know. It is. There were so many opportunities.
So they get there, and we have this big introduction, and they're saying that, they came home from war, and they reveal that they're in Spain, and they're just in the beautiful countryside, and seemingly the leader of the town, but I'm gonna say Bianca, Kate Beckinsale, Hero's dad, is like, if he's not the mayor, he's like the representative of these group of people that meet the soldiers.
He's definitely very influential in the town.
He's like the dude.
He's the dude.
He is like, I can't. Everybody is like thrilled these guys are here, and it seems that Denzel's some kind of royalty.
He's the leader of these soldiers. Yeah,
so whatever, he has just some reverence in this play. You don't really need to, it's not super important. He's just a very high station, very high official station. And we meet Kenneth Brannagh, who's Benedict. We meet Denzel, who is...
Don... Let me make sure
Don Pedro.
Pedro.
Don Pedro.
John's
he's the dude. He's the top dude. And then we have, I forgot the actor's name, but Claudio, who's like his right-hand man.
No, that's all right. Anyway.
And then we have Kaenu Reeves, who is apparently Don Pedro's brother, Don John.
Yes.
It's a fucking perfect name for him. And like everybody is like all happy, and then they just stop reacting to nothing and just looking at Kaenu Reeves, and they're just like...
Keanu Reeves doesn't do anything, and all of a sudden they're all looking at Keanu Reeves.
Like, they're all... What happened? And I'm like, did they miss a scene? Like, why? What are they reacting to him? But he's just standing there. And then the old man kind of goes over and like apologizes for something, and I missed that. And then Keanu's like, well, I don't say much, but thanks.
Yeah, that's actually a great impression. That's exactly the sentiment of the line, and a great Keanu Reeves impression. So you're great.
I worked for years about it.
Yeah, I know. I was there watching.
Excellent. Sorry. So, but I don't quite get it, and I didn't get till later. I had to ask you, but so I didn't quite get.
He's not really apologizing. He's just welcoming him, but they just chose to play it of like, oh, hey.
No, he's like, I'm sad for this. I'm sad for your loss, almost. Like that's what the guy was saying. He was like, thank you. I don't say much, but as much as I say, thanks. Okay, well I fucking missed it. Anyway. Okay. That was confusing for me, but I find out like 5 minutes later from Chloe that like, oh, Don John is the bastard half brother of Don Pedro. So Keanu Reeves is the bastard half brother of Denzel. And he's just like grumpy as hell, and we don't know why, but like the movie is super hitting over the head with how mad he is, seemingly for no reason.
But listen, I love that.
I know, it's for a cartoon, it's great.
And Keanu Reeves is the perfect Don John, and they wasted him.
Yeah.
Like, he's angsty little...
Chloe was saying he should have had like hair over the side of one eye and like an emo haircut and eyeliner.
Like, honestly, like, because that's who Don John is. He's a grumpy little asshole who's like, I wish I were my brother, which is like, you know, I get it because you have less opportunities because you're a bastard in this world. But you're like, but it's
he's
so
Jon
fun.
Snow if
So
Jon Snow is like
emo.
super petty.
Yeah, like more petty.
Like 100% petty.
Yes.
Jon Snow's not petty. Fuck off.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just being mean. But he's that. Like he's an emo kid, and like he's like, I wish I were my brother, but I'm not gonna admit it. And I just felt like Keanu Reeves is perfect for that, and they should have like surrounded him with people being like, okay, and I feel like everyone took him too seriously.
Yeah, if this movie took everybody really seriously, and especially when they do things that if it was played for comedy would have been funny. Since it's played for serious, it just didn't make any sense. Anyway, so Keanu Reeves is mad, but I'm buying it still. I'm like, okay, cool. He's mad for some reason that we'll find out.
Yes.
The movie will guide me and it won't let me down. And then they're like, okay, well, how long will you stay? And then we say that Denzel's like, we will stay for 1 month. And everybody just cheers like, hell yeah, these dudes are staying for a whole month. We partying. And they just, they start going, do a celebration.
Yeah.
Meet everyone.
We got the battle of the
Okay,
wits.
yeah, and then and we have these little moments where we find out that, where the movie tells us that Claudio and Kate Beckinsale are going to be lovers because they have the I meet. Mm-hmm. I'm in love.
Yep.
Check. Yeah. Shakeshero, you there? You got us there already.
You did it.
Love at first sight.
Check.
The realest thing that ever happened to anyone.
Met before. They've met before. Sometimes people play it that they haven't met before.
I feel like this movie was saying that they haven't met before.
They've specifically said that they
really?
had. There are a couple lines that say that, yeah.
Because, the way he's playing it,
yeah.
I mean, I do miss some of, the specific lines if they just, run over it real quick and I don't get it. But he was like, she's the best thing I ever saw, as if he's just seeing her for the first time. I
think part of the thing that they were trying to play is that, he's seeing her as if with new eyes because he went off to the war and now he came back and he has all this new experience, so he's kind of a different person. He liked her before, and now he loves her.
Oh. Especially it's probably been years and and Kate Beckinsale, she looks like she's 17 in this movie.
Yeah.
So maybe she was 12 when he left.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't a thing before.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
You got hot.
That makes sense. I just didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
We also forgot to mention that we also meet Emma Thompson's character, which is Beatrice, and God, I'm so bad with names. I'm trying to get it.
You did it.
And Kenneth Brannagh, who is no.
You're so close.
Something at the K in it.
No. Yes.
What is it?
Benedict.
Benedict.
Yeah, but it's not Benedict.
Eggs Benedict.
It's Benedict.
Eggs
Benedict. It ends with a dick.
All right, I'll try to remember
that.
It's hilarious, Chloe.
It's funny. Shut up, Paul. It's funny.
We introduce them, and they have this third grade kind of mentality of well, I hate boys, I hate girls, and I'm never getting married.
For sure,
and
that's true.
And they immediately start I would have been surprised if he pulled her hair at the water fountain.
Right,
but it's very they they obviously love each other, but they're just gonna go ahead and banter back and forth.
Yeah, totally. It's funny too because they have the third grade attitude of ew cooties, but they're expressing it in a really intellectual and smart, quippy way. It's a battle of wits.
They're trading the dozens hard, and they're both really good at it.
If third graders were brilliant.
So, once they get done on their stint on the show Wildin' Out, where they do their one-line rap battles,
That's exactly what I was going to say, actually. I was going to say about this scene that the way that I see it played sometimes is...
a rap battle?
No, but kind of... So I was thinking about this because I didn't like the way that they played it where no one's listening to them until the end.
God, yeah.
They should play it where as soon as Beatrice says, I wonder that you will still be talking, Senor Benedict, nobody marks you, everybody should go, ooh. Because it helps us with the jokes as the audience. And if it were in Shakespeare's day, I don't know that it would have been necessary for them to do that, but now it's super helpful. And I think it's almost necessary because it helps tell us which jokes we should ping. And it also made me think about Hamilton, the cabinet battles. I was like, it should be like that. Yeah. And I feel like even with Hamilton, if they didn't have the reactions to it, if they didn't have their friends in the cabinet being we would get less of what was going on with the technicalities of different things and what we're supposed to laugh at, what we're supposed to be shocked by, things like that.
I agree. I think that would have definitely pinged it and this is them. I mean, the movie did it, and that's the thing. Again, I think it's the difference between Zeffirelli. Is that his name?
Zeffirelli.
Yeah. He had a very keen eye on the irony and deciding how many things that certain characters should only hear and how many things the audience should hear.
Yes.
I think this Kenneth Brannagh version, they were showing that to the audience.
Yeah.
But because they weren't clear that everyone was hearing it and reacting to it, it made it less potent.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been more true to their characters that everybody heard it, because I don't think they're purely internally driven with why they do stuff. A lot of their demeanor and acting towards each other is out of fear of what everybody else will think.
Yes.
So
yes. Sorry, that's another reason.
And it's very much that. Very much pride is their biggest weakness. So they're everybody's gonna think that I'm this way, so I gotta be mean to her. And
you did it, Paul. You got the play.
So that would have been Yeah, much more true. Chloe's crying.
So happy.
Okay, so then we set them up, and we also set we have Moody Keanu, we have Denzel's the boss, we have Claudio loves Hero, and we have Benedict loves Emma, but like I'm sorry, Emma Beatrice, Emma Thompson. And Benedict loves Beatrice, but he ain't gonna say it, and then she ain't gonna say it either. She loves him back. That's our setup, and we go, and.
Isn't the next thing Keanu getting a massage?
Is it?
I think it is.
No. Its next thing is like him, because he has to. Not yet. We're almost there.
I'm so excited.
Then we have, so it's Claudio immediately finds Denzel, and it's like, bro, I love this girl. We need to get married stat. And Denzel's like, don't worry, I'll go hit on her for you. And I'm like, all right, Shakespeare, we're back into the ridiculous hijinks. And that's also another, like, clue, hello, that this is a fucking comedy.
Yes.
Like, what? I mean, I immediately had a knee-jerk awful reaction to that, because I'm just like
because it was like, brother, I will help you. Thank you, brother, and that was it.
Like, again, so I'm still like functioning off of like my lifelong, like brushes with Shakespeare and like people doing shit that makes no fucking sense to me, and it really pisses me off. And I'm just like, it doesn't like piss me off, but I'm frustrated that like, why does everybody like this? Why is it supposed to be considered like this person that understands human nature? I'm like, you don't understand shit. And so like that's like my knee jerk, like, from all the way through high school, like taking in Shakespeare.
Sad face.
And then as soon as like I get this character, and it just makes me remember that. It like pings that whole like history of him saying like, hey, I love her. Can you go woo her for me? And then I'm like, I immediately try to like, walk it back, like, okay, it's historical context, and like also like this would be funny in another context. So I'm like, I'm trying to like wrap my head about what it could be.
Okay, Paul, picture this version of that scene. So you've got Claudio and Don Pedro, and like, and Claudio's like, hey, and Don Pedro's his boss. He kind of has to ask him for even like getting married and stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean. Historical context.
Hey, boss, I'm here. I've come to ask you like if it's cool, basically, if I marry this girl, because I really want to marry this girl and I'm in love with you. What do you think? Do you think that's okay? I'm in your army. I don't know how it would work exactly, but like you're in charge of me. Is
that's
this
exactly
cool?
how the Marines works. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Just. I'm so sorry. But and then the boss is like, hey, listen, buddy, you can do it. And I'll help you. And the guy's like, and Claudio's like, okay. And he's like, I know what I'll do. And he's like, what are you gonna do? I didn't really ask for your help, but okay. He's like, I'll disguise myself as you and flirt with her for you. Brilliant. I'm the best boss in the world. And he's like, okay. Like, that's funny.
That would have been funny. That is not what happened at all.
That's what I'm saying.
Not even close.
I feel like that's what should happen.
That would be funny. And we also...
That would be funny. It's funny, right? That would be funny. I'm funny.
I also made this point up, and Chloe like immediately agreed, but I thought Denzel was miscast. I love Denzel.
Yeah.
But all the things that he did and the way like would have been funnier if he was like less cool. Denzel,
he should be Michael Scott almost. I'm just thinking of that now, but
hilarious.
He should be like a boss who thinks he's great and is doing his best and is doing a bad job.
And I think that's the problem. Like at the core of this movie, like Kenneth Brannagh was aiming for like, oh, it's got to be serious, and it's kind of up its own ass about like how things should be played, and everybody is just like swinging for the fences and like buying into the direction of this and like doing it 100% and playing it serious, but the situation is not, and so I don't believe they're real people. So if I didn't like, it allowed me to enjoy it, the fact that I could conceive of how this could be a comedy, but if I couldn't, I would have hated it. I would have a terrible time just trying to follow and like what was going on,
which sucks.
So what actually happened, it was that Claudio, it felt like Claudio was scared of her. And Claudio was begging cool Denzel to like, how do I get girls? And Denzel was like, look, bro, I'll tell you how to get girls.
I don't even feel like it was that clear.
That's what it felt like to me.
That's what it was trying to go for.
He was like shivering when he was talking to him.
Yeah.
And I thought, so he was like, I gotta get her, but I don't know how. Can you like teach me or do something? And he's like, I know what I'll do. And Denzel's being as cool as Denzel is, because I don't think
Denzel's cool.
I don't think Denzel can be cool. Which is not a bad plight to have.
Stupid Denzel. Why can't you just be uncool?
And he's like, you know what? I'll woo her for you, and I'll disguise myself as you, and then once
oh my god, I'm thinking about this now. I would totally cast Steve Carell as that role. Absolutely. He would be amazing in that role. Okay, now that's what I want. I want Steve Carell in that role. Really bad.
Make it happen.
Internet, do it.
So, and then apparently okay, so then that happens, and we reveal that some guy who's like was listening through, like one of the other soldiers is like, oh, I hear their plot, and I'm like, cool, and I'm like, oh god, here we go, just like a bunch of shit that's not gonna make sense, like after, just like cascading now, and he goes to like, clearly he's like one of Keanu's henchmen.
Yeah.
And so he goes to Keanu, and Keanu is getting oiled down in a massage in a dungeon.
From his henchmen. From his literal henchmen.
Yeah, one of the other soldiers is getting massaged.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Which honestly is that's hilarious.
Is that a stage direction?
No, but it should be. I would absolutely, if I were directing this, I would totally put that in there. But I would make it I think it was supposed to be a joke, but I would make it even clearer it was a joke.
It was not clear. Because,
it should be clear. It's so funny, and it's like I feel like there should be like gothic music playing in the background,
man. He's like in a dungeon with candles, and
it's almost there.
And not
like a step further.
Not one of the women who are probably work in this town. Maybe somebody who does that is is it maybe one of the health. I don't know what I don't know how the economy works and what jobs there are in 18th century Spain, but maybe somebody, but not one of your soldiers that were there.
No, but the thing about it too is it's perfect for that relationship, because that other soldier who's kind of his henchman, basically he wants to get down with Keanu. That's totally that's what I think is the most interesting subtext to play in that relationship. But that would be funny. At the very least,
I'm not saying against it.
He loves him and he thinks
I'm saying that's why it's funny.
And he's it's almost Igor of yes, let's do this. But I love it when people play that he's in love with him or infatuated with him.
That'd be great.
Right. And I think that they almost went there, and Keanu is so angsty.
I don't even think they almost went there.
I just wanted them to tip it over that comedic edge, and it never happened.
Keanu, also love Keanu. We're huge fans of Keanu in this house.
So much.
Not the greatest actor.
But we love him.
We love it, but he was just playing it all I'm mad, I'm serious, and I'm delivering these lines. And I think even that could have been good if they played the comedy around that. But nothing was funny. All the music immediately went serious.
Yeah.
And I'm saying all the context of the edit and the music were not allowing you to find it funny.
Right.
Because it was played all the tropes of seriousness, all the tones and all the music change and
And the other thing I'll say about Keanu is Keanu's right in the right role, and this is the right role for him. Like we were saying about Robin Williams as Osric, this is a perfect casting. Keanu Reeves as Don John is brilliant, but they didn't play it for comedy. They didn't ping Adam Driver would be another great Don John. Him and that Kylo Ren sketch.
It's that SNL sketch.
But it's the difference between him being Kylo Ren and him being Kylo Ren in the SNL sketch.
Yeah.
It's the context they build around him.
Or the same thing Jon Snow did with something in SNL.
Yes.
And instead of that,
shit.
Jon Snow didn't change anything. He was still Jon Snow.
Yes.
They just gave him a funnier context.
Yes, that's it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Keanu shouldn't change anything.
That's what I'm saying too. But you're giving a great example, which is why I'm yes. I feel like this is making really clear what we're trying to say.
Yes. Yeah, and this will be the entire episode is us just going by step by trudging through this play or this movie and finding step by step this was hilarious, why, and this is how they missed it. This is hilarious.
This is a gem of a play.
This is how they missed it.
It's so good.
I agree.
I can't wait to watch a really great Much Ado with You, because it's going to be a blast.
I'm glad that I have since my past with Shakespeare have seen a couple of good comedies and oh my god, this is fucking brilliant. It's timeless.
Yes.
Anyway, so he goes to Keanu and Keanu's getting this massage. He's like, boss, hey yo, boss, I got a plan. I know how you hate everybody and want nobody to be happy. Someone's trying to be happy over here. We gotta fuck it up.
I want you to play that role now. That's great.
So, and Keanu's like, what? Happiness? Not in my town.
Yeah.
And he's like, we gotta go fuck this up. And he's like, all right, I got a plan. Let's go. Just kind of tell someone the wrong thing at the opportune time, and it will send it all falling down. Basically.
Chaos.
Yeah.
He's like the comedic version of
I'm an
Richard
agent
III.
of chaos.
Yeah.
Sorry. No more impressions today.
You're cut off. That's a Pitch Perfect reference. If
it was a great one.
I know. I tried to clap quietly so I didn't.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember what's going on.
Okay,
next.
I'm vamping.
Now we go to there's some kind of festival that's going on. I obviously this was another choice by Kenneth Brannagh.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a stage direction, but they're having this specific pagan festival in the middle of the courtyard.
Yeah, with the masks. There are masks in the script, but they specifically made that choice to make it some sort of vague pagan festival, or maybe it's some Italian
I'm calling it pagan because I think it's funny, but it's not. I don't know what it is. It's just masks everywhere. It might be
a specific Italian reference. I don't know.
And it's a whole part of the thing that nobody can see who anybody else is.
Yeah.
And that's that comes up a few times.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're doing the festival, and then they have a little bit of hijinks, a little bit of character development. Kenneth Brannagh comes up to Emma Thompson. God dang names. Benedict comes up to Beatrix.
It's all B's. Close. Beatrice.
Beatrice
Lestrange.
Bellatrix. To Beatrice, and he's oh, what do you think of Benedict? And she's like, he's whack. I hate him. He's stupid. He's a clown.
Yeah.
But she knows it's him.
Yes.
And so she's just messing with him.
Which is hilarious.
It's cute. Very rom-com. Very great.
I love it.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
And again, the whole movie, Kenneth thinks he's funnier than he is. He's not very funny. I don't know what he did. And I can't tell if it's the edit or if it's him.
I don't know.
I think it's a little of both.
Maybe.
But it's just I think everybody is just very happy to be playing Shakespeare. I don't know, man. I try to catch myself and not going too hard to what people thought. But so many times I feel I can't tell if either just actors doing their job or if it's people just thinking that it's enough to just be saying these beautiful Shakespeare words in the right order.
I hate that. I don't want that.
That's
ever.
what I feel is happening.
I know.
Now.
I think that
it's
that
everybody
feels
they're saying all the lines and they're saying it like this and they're doing all these things, but at the end I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. There's a lack of specificity when you do that, and you're not actually being a character anymore. You're just letting this language.
It's what it feels like to me, and it's I used to completely describe it as I just don't get it, and now more and more I'm half there and half. I can't connect to that. I speak English pretty well, and I can get I've seen examples now of of things I don't understand verbally, but I understand in a human way.
Right, and the other thing too is you need to see those examples to understand that it's not just the old timey to be or not to be, because that's what everyone thinks Shakespeare is, or at least I think when you first hear about it, that's what you see, because you see the old movies from the 40s, and they're not always specific, but as we learned with Taming of the Shrew, that's not even always true. But you need to see the Taming of the Shrew. You need to see those examples in order for you to be oh, Shakespeare isn't just a bunch of pretentious assholes wearing collars and going for 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what I'm interested in. As a person who considers myself a very passionate Shakespeare lover, I hate that crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want the humanity and the thing that you're talking about of oh, this guy's supposed to be in touch with humanity. I don't see that, but now you do. But I want to bring that out. I feel that's the most interesting part of it to me is making sure that stuff comes through clearly and that we don't get caught up in any of the pretentious bullshit.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is what we were talking about how far. That's what I keep talking about. I think about art in general, how far the art should come to the audience. How many times are people just going to be this is Shakespeare, and I'm going to say the words, I'm going to say them like this in whatever cadence I want, whether they come across or not. And if they're elevating Shakespeare. Again, now I'm assuming within other people's heads. I don't want to impress that on anybody else, but it feels very pretentious, or that's why I keep saying up its own ass when someone's this art is great and it's because it's Shakespeare, and if you don't get it, then that's your fault.
I don't want to say something as a blanket statement without the caveat, this is my opinion, but people should not do that. That is not what people should do. And
no one's ever actually said that to me, so I'm not thinking, it just feels very what are you doing?
But when you go to acting school in the 21st century, this wasn't always true, but when you go to acting school now, the idea is that you're playing a character, and the character has something they want, and they're going to use the text, they're going to use their actions, they're going to use everything at their disposal to get it. So the words are a means to an end. It's not for the sake of being pretty. If you're standing on stage and saying words for the sake of being pretty, you're not really acting, in my opinion.
Yeah,
or at
hollow.
least not in the way that we look at acting today, and I don't think the way that Shakespeare looked at acting when he was writing those scripts. based on the
why-
fact that
why
all
are
those
we
characters
here?
are trying to get something.
Yeah. It's like
Why are we
losing
here?
sight
They're
of,
acting
like-
people.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be acting like people, and if we're doing something on stage and we're like, this doesn't make sense, why is this going against what I want, then we need to maybe adjust what we want, or we need to maybe realize that this is kind of a ridiculous thing, and recognize that either at a metacognition level or at the character level, and be like, this is ridiculous, and you can be Claudio and be like, Don Pedro, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't want you to woo the chick that I'm trying to marry.
Yeah.
Because this is weird.
Yeah.
But you're my boss, so I can't say anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Like building. I see what we're talking about. Now we're talking about kind of acting as opposed to just Shakespeare, but
Yeah.
it's the more we see stories that like where characters do things that don't quite make sense, and then that kind of compounds where the next thing doesn't make sense now, but they're still kind of following this template that is kind of like fundamentally broken from the start. It's the catalyst that is the problem and could fix that is people making decisions that character would make. So knowing the character more, therefore building out that backstory, therefore, the thinking about what they want so much that what that character would eat for breakfast.
Yes.
You know their favorite movies, all those things. And that way, and I've heard that before, and it used to be kind of mysterious to me, like, why would you do all that? I'm very like linear and very, I'm technical, so I would be like, say the lines in order and do the right emotion, and you got it.
Right, right.
But it makes more sense for those things to like kind of, I don't know, like live in the world a little more organically.
Yeah, and it's a machine, but it's a machine
and
at
it
a
comes
deeper
through.
level than that. It's not a machine at the level of like, then I'll play this emotion, then I'll play this emotion. It's a machine at the level of
It's
like...
a machine like an ecosystem's a machine.
Yeah, it's like, I want this, and that person wants this. So since those come into conflict, we're gonna have to duke it out. And like, because I'm more powerful than you... Like, so that's all given circumstance. Because I'm more powerful than you, I'm gonna get it, and you're like, and then this will happen because of that.
Exactly, and I want to talk about power too.
Please.
Probably towards the end, because I want to like find some momentum.
Yeah. One thing I want to ping to before we move on was, I don't remember. Let's move on.
All right, so we get to the masquerade or whatever that is, that festival, and then everybody's ploys are kind of like in motion. Benedict is going after Beatrice. We got Claudio, who's like in the bushes, kind of like looking further away at Denzel, trying to woo Hero, and he's just seeing it and he's not hearing what they're saying. And then we have Don John, who is Keanu Reeves and his guys, trying to like, being like the devil on Claudio's shoulder.
Yeah.
And he's not wooing, Denzel's not wooing her for you, he's wooing her for himself.
Yeah.
He want her. See, she pretty, he want her for himself. And I feel like this could have been like a hilarious moment about, the misunderstanding or, of our Don Pedro, Denzel, revealing himself to Hero, and like in a funnier way. There could have been more like situations for laughter and like how that all played out. But all we see is, from Claudio's perspective, is that Denzel just pulls his mask off and is like, hey, I'm Denzel, and I wasn't Claudio at all.
Yeah.
And he just starts kissing her hand and stuff like that. But they only do that so Keanu Reeves could be like, see, he wants her for himself. Like, that was just, they served the more dramatic and like not quite funny moment as opposed to
it didn't really make
the funny
sense
moment.
either,
Yeah.
because then so like they could have then played it like Denzel was secretly trying to get Hero the whole time and like tricked him, but then the next thing that happens is he goes, see, I won her for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the next scene.
Which
the next
is
scene,
like,
he's like, he kind of confronts him, and he's like,
so it didn't make sense.
What happened? And so my point is like, they didn't let that bubble kind of like grow and become like to put a lot of pressure on Claudio's, their relationship or anything like that. They were just like, oh, he might be doing it. Oh, never mind. He did it for me, so it's fine. And like, so that whole thing was kind of pointless.
Right.
Nothing got sacrificed. Nobody misunderstood anything.
And it seemed clear that from the physicality that he was trying to get with Hero, which
really
didn't make
did.
sense.
Yeah. So I think they just probably didn't want to mess with that. They did it because it was in the play, but he was like, Kenneth Brannagh was like, this is not important. Let's just like wrap it up in a few scenes.
Yeah, it was weird. It was like, it felt like there's no stage direction that says, then he takes off his mask and kisses her hands very sexually. I'm like, no,
They got a lot of B-roll, and I think they put it together in the edit.
yeah, sure.
So that happens, and then Keanu's like, damn it, well, we gotta mess with him even more now. So, I'm sorry, I messed up. So we introduce some completely new characters now.
Yeah.
While the party's going on, it's still nighttime, but this police, but this town has a police force.
Yeah.
And that police force's captain is Michael Keaton. I forgot his name, but it doesn't matter because he's my favorite person in this whole movie.
We can just call him Michael Keaton.
Well, he's Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And they are quickly introduce themselves as the police, but it's like I feel like I'm watching another movie if I watch any other scene with Michael Keaton. Like they're in their own movie.
Yeah.
He's in a Monty Python movie and it's great.
I know. I feel like he's in the right
this
movie.
movie should have been.
I agree.
So there's like these 3 guards who are like in the shabbiest of shabby clothing. They look like they're homeless, but like they have like
they look like pirates.
Yeah, exactly. They have just like dirty clothes on, but it's clearly like some kind of uniform, and they all have swords and they have like blades.
Their whole thing is like the community watch. Like if I were to set this in like modern day times, I would give them all like reflective vests. Yeah, neighborhood watch. I would give them all like reflective orange vests and like a flashlight or something.
Exactly. And Michael Keaton, and they're all like kind of lazily standing guard. It's late at night, they're tired. Michael Keaton comes up and like riding a fake horse, like just skipping along, miming that he's riding a horse, along with his sidekick who is glued to his hip.
Yes.
The whole movie. The comedy is great. The physical comedy of it is perfect. And he's just like, he gives him this whole speech about like, well, you guys are the kind of the police technically, but if you see somebody, maybe just. You can just suspect him, but you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's basically that, and it was super clear.
Yeah,
and
if somebody robs somebody, like tell him he's not supposed to do that, and then let him go.
Right, exactly.
You don't want to get hurt.
It's like tell him to stand to. What if he won't stand to? Then let him go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Put up no resistance.
Right, exactly.
And the lines, the comedy, like it's. They're being a cartoon and it's perfect. If I felt like it's exactly how this whole movie should have been.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how did Kenneth Brannagh get that part but miss everything else? Does he think that he thinks you can just have one comedic part that just doesn't influence any other part? It doesn't touch any part. There's a solid border between all the comedy and the rest of the movie.
I'm also wondering if Michael Keaton showed up on set and was like, I've got a lot of ideas.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then Kenneth was like, this is really funny, so do that. You know what I mean? Like, kind of an undeniable thing.
Yeah, but
or if Michael Keaton just wouldn't listen to him and just do whatever he wanted.
I don't know, man, because the camera he was playing with the camera. The camera,
I know, which was also great, which I felt like a lot of the other comedy didn't do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Whoever was behind the camera was in the same movie that Michael Keaton
was on Michael Keaton's side.
So, I mean, maybe...
So maybe it was Kenneth. I don't know.
Or maybe Kenneth just is not the cinematographer, and he's just like, sure, it's working, go ahead and do it.
Right, or maybe Michael Keaton was like, you, point the camera here. I gotta run around a little bit.
Which is very much like what his character would do.
Yeah.
And so we meet them, and that's all we really meet at the moment.
His character's named Dogberry, by the way, which I think is hilarious. Literally, Dogberry.
Perfect.
Which is like little dog poops.
Perfect.
Well,
yeah, again, clue. This is a comedy.
Yeah.
So
they're definitely supposed to be the funniest part of the play, but I feel like everything else should have been a little funnier to catch up with it.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was very stark. So we're still at the festival, but everybody's taking their mask off and revealed who they are now. And okay, heroes for you, and Hero is also just a mindless sheep at this point, going along with it. She's like, it feels like she would have went with whoever wanted, she was with Denzel, it's like, no, I give her to you. And I just, every time I cringe, everybody's like, and her dad's like, you can have her.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
It's property.
Yeah.
And she's happy as a clam to do it.
Yeah.
But
that's part of the difference between her and Beatrice, too. Yeah. Is Beatrice is like, Hero, stand up for your goddamn self.
Yeah,
Come on.
That's if that was played more starkly to the extremes, would make it funny and poignant of making the point.
Yes.
So every argument is for comedy.
Right.
And so she's just like, sweet. I get to be with this dude? Great. And they're like, when we get married, he's like, tomorrow, I'm trying to consummate this shit. And he's like, chill out, man. I'll give it 7 days. Chill out. He's like, fine. and Beatrix, I can't remember exactly Beatrix. Beatrice is Bellatrix is Bellatrix is like, we gotta get Harry Potter.
And he's like, I'm Gilderoy Lockhart. I'm not on your side.
Everyone's been in Harry Potter. So
a lot of these characters have been in Harry Potter.
Have they?
Yeah, Emma Thompson plays Professor Trelawney.
She does.
Trelawney. It's Trelawney.
I know the future.
Yeah, so I want to see Much Ado About Nothing, but with them playing those characters as Gilderoy Lockhart and
Perfect.
Professor Trelawney.
And this also kills me because they're all great comedic actors.
Yes!
The ones that aren't doing any comedy.
So we know Kenneth Branagh's funny. God, come on.
You can do it, Kenneth. We believe in you.
I'm mad.
Okay, so they are there. I can't remember, like, I think Beatrice and Benedict have, like, another, you know, like, moment?
Yeah, they do.
I can't remember exactly what that moment is.
So they kind of have another exchange of wits, and Benedict is like, I don't want to talk to her ever again. My lady tongue. I cannot endure my lady tongue. And Beatrice mentions the fact that they've basically that they've dated before. I think the implication is that they've slept with each other before, but that's just a me thing.
Oh yeah, and then she was like, why did you guys stop dating? And she was like, oh, basically, like, I dumped him before he could dump me.
No.
She says a line that basically means that, right?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure.
She says, I gave him a double heart. I can't remember how the phrasing goes exactly, but basically it's like, I gave him my heart for a little while, and then I got it back. Which I guess it could mean...
No, I'm not talking about that line. There's another line, and I might put it in the edit, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
She specifically says, like, I did this, like, and I went before he could do that. Like, I don't know the language, but, like, I remember it. If it doesn't mean that, I will be surprised. But I don't remember it either, so we can move on.
Yeah.
So they have a moment, and they kind of, like, reveal a little bit about their history. But then we move on to the next day, and they, like, and there's, like, that whole moment is over, and now we're, like, building the next arc.
Yeah.
And so now a couple things happen. Don John is like, we got to stop them from getting married because he can't be happy because nobody can be happy because I'm Don John and I'm a cartoon.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is like, well, we know Beatrice and Benedict love each other. We gonna get them to, you know, like, everybody is invested in their thing like it's a rom-com.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll just tell them, we'll lie to them and say that the other person loves them, and then they'll both get out of their own way and actually love each other.
Yeah.
But they're too prideful, so they have to overhear it.
Right.
And we won't actually. So, like, you know, convoluted hijinks ensue.
Yeah, which is great. It's so rom-com. It's so farcical, practically.
For sure.
Very physical. Oh my god, one of my favorite productions I ever saw of Much Ado About Nothing was at my community theater when I was in college and came back to see it. And just, like, the specificity of where they were hiding and, like, how they would move around the space was fucking hilarious. Like, I've never seen it play. Like, it was just, like... It was so specific, and I think that's what was lacking in these scenes. But go on.
Yeah, that was lacking in, like, a lot of the movie,
Yeah.
I think. Everybody was just kind of saying, again, like, it felt like they were saying the lines in order. I don't know how else to say it. I'm lacking some vocabulary. But there's another scene where I could have seen it. I was imagining it on stage. And I'm like, there's so many ways this would be hilarious on stage. But because they, you know, just were using tight shots and cutting in between people talking, and, you know, Denzel was playing, and I just don't think, I don't doubt Denzel can be funny, but he just wasn't very funny in this movie, and, like, I think him being as cool as he is and him not really, like, stepping down from that, making an effort to do that, like, it took away from some of the comedy.
Yeah, I feel like you could maybe read Don Pedro as cool, but I feel like it undermines a lot of what his character's about and what his character does.
And what he does, like, he
gets rejected by Beatrice.
And he's also doing a prank right now.
Right. And he's playing. It's his idea.
Yeah. I just feel like he's just so Fonz. Like, he's just.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's like, yeah.
And it feels like they were like, we got Denzel, so we should have Denzel be cool.
I mean,
like, that's what it felt like.
Honestly, to be fair, if I was making a movie and I was casting someone, even if Denzel was the worst cast, I would cast him.
Yes, I agree.
Why you can't?
But just, like, put him in a different role. Like, I don't know, make him like, or just direct him differently. Anyway, sorry.
So it's like cutting back and forth between him and Kenneth is like, you know, trying to overhear it, and he's like running away, and like they do this whole thing where like Kenneth like he steps on something, and he's like, ah, and they look, and they already know he's there, but he doesn't want them to know he's there, so they're trying to fake it, but he goes, ah, and he's like, oh, they heard me, I'll just lean into it, Kaka! And I can see a version of that being funny, but the way this played out was not, and it had a lot to do with the editing.
With the editing, yeah. And I think too, I was imagining this as a Wes Anderson movie when we were watching it, and like there was this part where Kenneth Branagh's like popping up in different bushes behind them. Yeah, it would have been funnier if it were just like flat and like you just. If it was just more specific, like he's at a low place, and then he's at a high place, and then he's at a sideways place. Yeah. Like just imagining it as a Wes Anderson movie, I think it would be awesome. Like that scene.
And we were talking about this too, like this like film direction and the way you edit and cut between things, but sometimes leaving it super wide is like a stage.
Yes.
Because it's all the stage is just like one flat wide shot. But it helps because if you know how things that would play well on a stage kind of can translate sometimes. I'm sure there are going to be film people who can articulate this point way better than I can, or have more nuances, or like, and I think, rebuttals against that point. But it rings really true. Like all when Michael Keaton's character came in, like all that was wide. They just like left it wide, let him play it, and it was perfect.
It was awesome. Like, and the one thing I'll say is like, and I think we mentioned this to ourselves, but if it shouldn't always be in a wide. It should be in a wide in the moments that it makes sense. Like if you want nuance, if you want those emotional things that are happening, a close up is great. This is just general film stuff too.
Exactly.
But if you're wanting to play something physical that's like comedic, and we need to see your whole body, then we need to see your whole body.
Yeah. They had a lot of shots of like Kenneth just in a 2-shot, or like like chest up, and things that I thought would have been better wide, or like better where like he's in the same shot as them people playing the prank on him, but like he's behind like the set that they had was just like this huge courtyard, so like he's in bushes 30 yards away, and they're like sitting on this thing, so they played it, they edited it for continuity, but somebody didn't have an edit in mind when they shot it. They're like, let's just get coverage. And so they got everybody saying their lines over here, a couple of shots, a couple of angles, let's move on.
This is also a movie that I think would really... So if you're doing Much Ado About Nothing as a movie, I think it's one of the ones that would most benefit and most benefit from, and would most suffer from the lack of, which this movie didn't have, takes to camera. Like, there's so much of...
Fourth wall breaks. Like looking at the camera.
Like, it's Fleabag. Like, it's, that kind of thing. Like, because there's so much time that Kenneth Branagh or Emma Thompson spent alone that they're just kind of talking around the camera. I'm like, just look in the camera. And I get why they didn't, because especially at the time, it's not cool. It's not a good thing to do, to look in the camera.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of schema that we have about film had not quite been broken yet, especially like with things like Fleabag. But they should have done it, and I think it would have really helped. And I guess I'm not trying to say like, you assholes, you should have done this, but I'm trying to say like, now what I think we can learn from that is, I think it's, especially after watching that, I'm like, I think it's probably best practice for this play to have them look at the camera.
I'm not sure if I agree with that because I don't have a vision for it, but I wouldn't discount it.
I do. It's my vision.
All right. So now, so they both overhear this, and like they it's a little bit funny, but then they both have this soliloquy about like, he loves me, and I didn't have to like give up any of my power to find out the truth. I love him now, and they're basically like, she is shouting to the audience or to the heavens. Yeah. Like, cool, I love him now, and I'll tell him the next time I see him. Yeah. And then also, Keanu has his ploy going on, and he's like, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll get Denzel and Claudio. I'm just like saying whatever name I want. Den Pedro and Claudio, and part of the reason that I think Kenneth Branagh pings later is that like, if they both believe something, their dignity and their integrity is unquestionable. So if they both believe something, then like it's ironclad to everybody else. And so they get Professor Umbridge to go up and have sex.
She's also in this movie.
And have sex.
Ursula.
And have sex with one of Keanu's underlings.
Yes.
And they see it from like probably 100 yards away. They're on the ground, and they're looking at something happening on the 4th floor. Yeah. And her hair looks like Hero's hair. Right. And so they're like, that's all the proof I need. It's Hero. Yeah. And she's cheating on me. And so now I'm not going to confront her now. I'm going to wait until I'm walking down the aisle, and I'm going to fuck shit up.
Like an asshole.
So that's kind of the conceit of that. That's how that plays out. Yeah. And so now we're at the wedding. Yeah. And the wedding's happening, and she's just like, I am so happy. I'm about to get married. We gonna consummate this shit. It's gonna be great. I'm 18. I love him. I never met any other men, but he's all the one I need.
Tempest.
And so everything is great. And so he comes, and they're like, will you marry him? And she's like, yep. He's like, will you marry her? And he's like,
no.
Nah. She cheated, And this, like, and he's like yelling at her, and she's crying, and Kate Beckinsale's doing a great job. She's like, she looks
acting so well,
distraught.
Yes,
it's kind of uncomfortable.
Yes,
and he's like, and this dude's like going on a tantrum. He's like knocking down poles. We thought he was Prince Charming, but he has like a big temper. It's like knocking down poles. He's like pissed off. He's like, you ain't got no virtue. And Denzel's looking at her like, yeah, you ain't got no virtue. And they're like, and he's just waiting for the dad to be like, what are you talking about? My daughter would never do this. And he's like, Denzel's like, nah, dog, I saw it with my own eyes from 100 yards away in the back of her head. And it had to be her because I know her so well. I know that hair anywhere.
Yes.
That curly hair that everybody wears, I'd know it from anywhere.
Also, that girl over there who has hair that looks just like it, I don't notice her.
Yeah, and that couldn't have been her.
The one that is getting really wide-eyed right now?
Yeah, I know the hair. And so... And the dad is, and so the word of these two, like, high-ranking military men is all the dad needs to be like, you bitch, like, you whore.
Yeah, and then he's a total asshole to her.
Exactly. He's like, like, they leave, and so they're like, we're out of here. And I'm like, aren't they still staying there for the rest of the month? like that's gonna be awkward.
They're going to the bar. They'll be back.
Exactly. Like, this town is not very big, and so they leave, and so now it's just the dad and the girl, and the dad's like, you bitch, and then like, and he's yelling. Well, she won. She's already suffered enough. She's totally humiliated on her wedding day.
Yeah.
Even if she didn't lost the respect of everybody, that would be like just like earth shattering.
Yeah.
But it ain't over.
No.
He like grabs her by the hair and like throws her on the ground, and like it was like a really good throw. Kate Beckinsale got pushed and thrown like a good bit.
A lot.
I mean, they had a fight choreographer for that.
Yeah, for sure.
And so he threw her on the ground, and she's still crying and just trying to deny it. Like, what? She just doesn't know what's happening. And he's yelling, and like the dad is like, distraught too. He's like so pissed off and just hurt and just like embarrassed and everything. And then it's not over though. It gets worse than that.
Oh, but it's worse than that.
On another, like, his line, he's still talking. Everybody's still like pouring out these Shakespearean words, and he's like, and I'm mad still. And he gives her a right hook to the face.
He really does.
He punches her in the fucking face.
We replayed it a couple times.
Oh man, I was not ready for the right hook. It was a mean right hook.
It was.
So, Kate is just, I don't know. I'm like
hero. This is hero.
Yeah, Kate Beckinsale, hero.
I'm just trying to pick it for the audience.
And I turned to Chloe. I'm like, she's gonna kill herself, isn't she? Like, that's a Shakespearean thing that happened next.
I was like, maybe.
I'm like, her life is over.
And then in my head, I was like, oh, but it's more Shakespeare than that.
And so she's still denying it, and then Emma Thompson's there. She's like, she would not have done this. Like, and again, no one is like actually evaluating. Do I know this person? Like, I don't know. There is. It's something that happens it's sometimes in plays, but a lot of times in Shakespeare that I don't really quite get, or I'm still, the jury's out for me to like jump on board for. But there's two people who are supposed to be close. They've known each other conceivably their whole lives, and they know the character, they know what they would do, and then some other person says, no, they did it, I saw them, and that's all they need to just completely 180 and turn on them. I don't know, as an adult, and like the more true relationships you find, you feel like you know people better than that to be completely surprised by something they would do. I mean, yeah, sure, it happens. I mean, like, people get cheated on, people divorce, like, these things happen. I don't know.
But
it doesn't resonate with what I feel like I know about the people that I know.
Whose word did they believe over whose?
Yeah, they believed everybody else's over the dudes.
A dude over a girl.
Yeah, if that's the point he's consistently trying to make, then cool. But I just meant that sometimes it's, I don't know. I guess it's a historical context thing or a Shakespeare thing. It makes me double take or cringe when I keep seeing that. Like, not that like the dad too. Like, the dad was like just turned on his daughter. Yeah,
especially I feel like that's the point that he's trying to make with that. Is like, everybody's turning on Hero, but surely her dad will believe her, but he doesn't.
He punches her in the face.
A bunch of dudes said it over her. Like, he doesn't believe his own daughter, and then of course Beatrice believes her because she's known her whole life, and she's another woman, so she gets it.
Yeah,
I think that's what's up there.
Beatrice did like have the unshakable. Like she's like, is anybody like asking herself, is she the kind of, would she do this? Like,
right.
Before you decide you believe it.
Yeah. And also, I think that I think if there's any serious moment in the play, it's this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think there's
this is
room.
also the moment for us as the audience where we're like, this might not be a comedy anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we think that Claudio and Hero might not end up together. We don't even know how they could at this point. This sucks. And honestly, as the audience at the end, you really got to bring Claudio back for me to want them to get married.
Yeah, exactly. The further you like step back, now you have to make up all that ground and then some
by the end of the play
for it to and I think I remember looking at my like being like, isn't there like 2 more hours left? And like Paul, no, we're almost done. I was like, fuck, Claudio.
I think that and I think every production I've seen or been in of Much Ado, they've had Hero be thrown to the ground by Claudio. I don't think that is...
In this production, choice. Claudio does throw... He pushes her, like...
real hard.
Probably as hard as he can.
Yes.
Like, in real life, and they just, like... They staged it well enough to where she knew how to fall, to where she just fell in the grass.
Yeah.
But, like, he pushed her, like, real hard.
Yeah, and there's a line where Claudio says, there, take her back again, which implies at least that he takes her arm or something and moves her towards Leonardo. But you can play that...
Now, I don't own her. No, you own her again.
Right, exactly, which is fucked up. And I think it's self-aware fucked up.
Yeah.
But you could just play that as, like... handing her hands back over to him or something. I think that everything we've learned about Claudio up to this point, he is like, he's a gentle soul.
That's what it seems like. He is like, I totally agree.
And I don't...
And he's playing it like that up until this point.
Yeah, and he doesn't stand up to Don Pedro, and Don Pedro's like, I'm gonna help you.
Yeah.
I feel like all that kind of context of things, the things that Benedict says about him now.
Yeah.
And we could play it if we wanted to, like, maybe he has PTSD from the war, maybe he has an anger issue that's coming out now. Oh, maybe it is a problem that they're getting married so soon because he has this anger problem that we didn't know about. But I don't think that that's helpful to us because they do get married at the end, and it's so soon after this.
Yeah, it would, if he was just, he doesn't have to, like, respond in a Hulk rage.
Right.
It would be just as powerful, if not more so, for him to just silently walk away. And
right.
like, and his removal,
quietly.
And his removal is painful
enough for
to
her.
Everybody. Yeah.
Oh, it would hurt so bad anyway.
Yeah, and it would like leave room for his redemption to the audience.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think that's like a lack of vision on Kenneth Brannagh. I think he just wanted everything to be so dramatic, and it felt like a soap opera that I couldn't follow.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. That didn't make sense. It felt like everybody was just like, these are the words on the page, so I'm going to emote those as much as I can, and it just looks like I'm supposed to be. So, like, yeah, I don't know, man. I was like, I wasn't necessarily about it.
It makes it more dramatic in a physical things we can see
I think
sense.
in a superficial way.
In a superficial way. That's the perfect way to say it. It makes it more dramatic in a superficial way, but at a deeper level, and thinking about the next point we need to get to.
Yeah.
If we're thinking about this as a machine.
The vision of the whole movie.
Yeah, it's not helpful to us.
Yeah,
I think it's not the most helpful choice to make. Unless there's like 4 other choices that you make that totally redeem him or something. But I think it's really hard to if he does that.
Fuck. We might need to have a conversation after this. We're talking about like storytelling like elements and like how the more we talk about it and the more like we try to create stories together.
Yeah.
I see it more as a machine.
Yes.
And it's almost, and when I talk to you about like just accomplishing like any task that is not
of tasks.
or a series of tasks or complicated tasks that is really 1,000 tasks.
Yeah.
And we have like different opinions, and I kind of say it. Sometimes we have contention because I say it like it's obvious or it has to be this way, and you're like, no, that's just your way. I'm like, no. This is. I don't feel like it's my opinion. I feel like I'm just discovering it, or I'm saying it that if you want this, it has to be this. It can be what, and I definitely always make that caveat. Like, it could be whatever version of that, but if you have this, then you have to have this, this, and this. And I think this is that version of what's happening. It's like, if you want to tell a story that makes sense, if you want to tie up these loose ends and make these things clear, like there is room for artistic expression and opinion the way you want to do it. But certain on a ground level storytelling level, if you want to do this, then if you want to get here, you need to do this, this, and this, and this.
Right. I agree with you about things that are very technical that I don't have previous knowledge of, but I disagree with you about some other things, but we don't need to talk about that right now.
I use that as an example because you have context for it, but I'm more pinging the concept of there are opinions and there's art, and someone to me, like if I'm listening to this 10 years ago, I see plays and like art is super messy and uncategorizable and just kind of fickle sometimes and frivolous, because you could make anyone say anything. And especially with like Shakespeare stuff, it seemed like to me that people were saying shit that didn't make sense. I mean, and we're supposed to like hold it to this reverence, but I'm like, I just stay away because my intention to personally was to judge it negatively. Yeah. But the more I see and the more I'm exposed to it and the more we talk about it, the more I'm seeing the cogs in the machine. Yes. And I'm saying it's not so mysterious.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like, you can make people say anything, but that doesn't mean it's going to be good. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, well, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't like it.
That's really why I like Shakespeare, because I feel like it's a good blueprint to help us get to a deeper place if we follow the blueprint in a way that's logical and makes sense. Yeah. In a certain way. And I'm not saying like it always has to be the same way. It definitely doesn't. But I feel like there are definitely certain like stepping stones that you can use to get to a better version of a story. And I think that sometimes, you know, as actors, as directors, we can get caught up, and I'm not saying I'm exempt for this either. This is me too. We can get caught up in like, oh, like Macduff is so angry. Like I'm gonna just make him so angry the whole time because I love how like viscerally angry I can get with him. And we miss the nuances of what's actually happening on the page, what we can actually draw out of this blueprint to make a really nuanced and interesting character that fits into the larger arc of a larger story.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with all that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm just trying to lay it out and articulate it.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, that's definitely adjacent to the point I was making, but I guess what I'm saying is that we're expressing opinions in our critiques of this movie, but certain things that I feel a little bit more clear in my argument against it than I used to. Yeah. One, because I just know more now and I've seen more, I've been exposed to more, but also the fact that we can all agree that certain elements of storytelling kind of need to be in place, like on a fundamental level. Like there's foundations of storytelling and just in continuity and just in clarity that need to be at the baseline before you start building on top of it. Yes. And I'm just saying that we know that you have A and we know you want to get to D. You don't necessarily need a specific B and C, but you need some B and C. Right. And if those aren't there, then the whole thing falls apart. And that's all. I feel a little bit more clear about identifying what B and C are. Yeah. If D is the goal, and so again now sometimes the misdirection or the complicated storytelling could make the fact that you're not trying to. The D is not clear. Yeah. It could be another letter or a different, a whole nother alphabet. But if it is, then this is where we need to go. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. That was a really fun conversation. I liked that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so next, like it's all fucked up now. Everybody's like, besides Claude, Benedict is happy because he loves Beatrice, and so like, and he goes to go tell her because she's pissed off. No, yeah, that's what it is. After this whole thing plays out, Beatrice is like, God damn it! I think she like kneels down to pray in like a little altar or something like that. Yeah. And Kenneth Brannagh comes and he's like, Hey, I heard you love me, and she's like, I do. I heard you love me. And he's like, I do. Perfect. We love each other now. And she's like, but this shit just got real. But they still kind of bicker in that whole conversation.
Yeah, which is cute. It's like they reveal to each other that they love each other in a really like kind of pokey way.
Yeah, it's really like I love you, but you still suck. But, yeah, but I'll love you, I guess.
Right, right.
And then she's like, yeah, but I'm also like real pissed off because this motherfucker just disrespected my cousin, and and I hate him. Go kill him. Go kill Claudio. And he's like, all right. This is another scene that I thought would have where the character could be playing it really seriously, but it still be funny. Yeah. Because of the huge back and forth like roller coaster of emotion that it was a whiplash. Like, oh my God, I'm so sad. Oh, but I love you. Kill Claudio.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing about them too that I love about these characters, and I wish were a little more evident in this production, especially in this moment, is like they're tigers. Like that's why they're always butting heads like with each other. They're both such big personalities, like powerful personalities, and they're clashing like Greek gods. So like, when they're like poke. Okay, I love you. Oh, I love you too.
Kill Claudio.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like back to kind of their original thunder, and with extra because now Beatrice is upset for her cousin, and like her instincts.
And all those three emotions are totally real. Yeah. Like and relatable given the circumstances. Yeah. And could be played very true and still be funny.
Yes.
I don't think the movie did that though.
No.
It made it feel very dramatic.
Yes.
And which made it weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I have, because I feel like listening to what I just said, I feel like I just said the same thing. I feel like they said the movie did it, but it wasn't funny. So there's still something to be described what the difference is, but I'm sure most people will know what I'm talking about when I say how something can be played too dramatically and like not funny, but yet you could still play those things in earnest and it be funny if you give it the right like kind of context or the right shell.
I think part of that is direction. I really do.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't have the vocabulary to really go into it, but I think it's clear enough what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I think it'd be hard too. Like I want to give Kenneth some props here because it's hard to be in something and direct it at the same time, especially if you're playing a specific character that does think it's a serious situation. Because you could get caught up in the character's head and be like, this is a serious situation, and then not be able to take that step back and go, oh, this is funny. Or you could be the director taking that step back going, oh, this is funny, and end up playing the character like it's funny. Yeah,
I mean, I agree with you that it's hard to do that. I don't think he had to do that. He wanted to do that.
I know.
And I don't.
No, I agree.
I'm not gonna pull any punches just because
I'm gonna pull a little bit of a punch. I'm not gonna pull it all the way.
He could have easily cast somebody else.
I'm gonna give him a jab, not a cross.
I mean, I'm not trying to like hurt him or anything, but like,
yeah, don't.
I don't think criticism should be like withheld or like accommodated for the fact that he acted it and directed it. It wasn't like a student film. He cast it.
I'm just saying I understand why. I'm not saying like it wasn't wrong.
I think that was a bad choice then, if that's the case.
I agree that it was a bad choice. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I understand why.
But you also said you're going to give him a little bit of a break, and so that's what I'm talking about that I wouldn't do.
I'm giving him a little bit of a break. I'm not giving the piece of art a little bit of a break.
I'm not giving him a break either.
All right.
You get nothing.
All right, Grace.
There will be no quarter.
Kill Claudio.
Okay, so then, we also forgot to mention that the guys who were on guard, Michael Keaton's
Dogberry and friends.
Dogberry and friends, their guard, he was like, all right, keep an eye out. And then also, just for the sake of having something to wrap up, before, like going back to before the wedding, they, the Keanu Reeves' goons come outside and they're drunk and they're like next to the guards and they're like, hey yo, check out what we just did. I just had sex with this girl and we were gonna pretend like it was Hero so they could mess with their wedding. It's hilarious. He's like, actually, we the police. You under arrest.
Yeah, they pop out from behind some pillars, which was hilarious.
It was funny. It was very funny.
It was very funny.
But it was...
They tie him up with a laundry line.
He was painting in bold strokes. It's like, okay, we're gonna tie this up, clearly. And so they've been in jail and kind of getting tortured.
Yeah.
to like before they know what happened. So, but they're like doing their own thing. But still, Michael Keaton and the goons have not come into contact with our main characters, which is Denzel and Claudio and Emma Thompson and stuff. And then, so now, but Beatrice is told, I got it, Benedict, to go kill Claudio. And Benedict comes over there, and he comes, and they're like, oh, what's up, Claudio? And he's like, no, I'm serious. I'm gonna kill you. Like, we gonna duel. And then Claudio, again, is also made fun of, like he's like weak. They called him like lack beard.
Yes.
Because in this movie, everybody has a beard except for the guy who plays Claudio. We should know his name. I feel very disrespectful.
It's okay. I'll look at it.
And so we're calling him Lackbeard, and so like it's another ping that like I see what you mean. He's a gentle soul.
Yeah.
And like Kenneth Brannagh like grabs him by the fucking face, pushes him against the wall. He's like, hey yo, I love Beatrice now, and she's a cousin of Hero. I'ma kill your ass. And then
his name is Robert Sean Leonard.
Robert Sean Leonard. I've seen him in other things. He's a good actor.
He's a great actor.
So now I'm just confused with more names. But Robert Sean Leonard is against the wall, and his beardless face is getting palmed by Kenneth Brannagh, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, and he's like, oh shit, and then he like leaves, and Denzel is like, oh, he's serious.
Yeah,
it's
true. And I was telling you, they cut these lines that add to the comedy. So like I feel like this is
it was a serious moment.
This is part of them leaning into the drama of it. Like they were playing it for super drama, but we missed the part before that I think is so funny, where Benedict comes in and he's like, hey, what's up, Claudio? And they're like, what's up, Benedict? Why are you acting weird? And he's like, because I'm really mad at you. And they're like, okay. And he's like, and they're like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, I challenge you to a duel. And they're like, oh, what? And he's like, and I'm going to kill you. And they're just like laughing at him. They're like, that's hilarious. Because he's never serious. Like, part of Benedict is that he's always teasing and he's always making fun of people and he's always messing with his friends.
Yeah.
So they think that he's kidding. And so then he like really has to like show Claudio that he's serious.
Yeah.
Which also would be a great moment to go from that comedy to be like, no, I'm going to kill you. And it's like serious. And they're like, what?
Yeah. I agree.
Because it's another moment of like, this is a comedy. Wait, are we in a comedy?
And it's also like pinging the things that like if you've established something. Okay. Also, I haven't really like harped on this, but the fact that Kenneth Brannagh is kind of like the comic, not a comic relief as in like he's the butt of the joke, but he is like a comedic kind of person. Like he's always saying things, and he's like
you're saying Benedict is?
Benedict
right?
is.
Yeah. No, I was confused as to whether you meant the actor or the person.
No, I meant Kenneth Brannagh in this movie. Like he's he's
Benedict
always like he's like I don't know. He's like. If it's Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, like he's the Martin Lawrence, like he's like the loud mouth talker guy.
Yeah.
So that's who he's been this whole movie. So it would make sense if he comes and up to someone seriously for them to be like, "What? That's not you."
Yeah.
And then they need to sit there for a moment at least, and then he can do something physical that can be like, "No, it is me."
Yes.
And like and that would make it it would make it more real for the world, and then clear to the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like these are like functional things that I totally agree with you on.
Cool.
Yeah. And so they skipped all that. He just basically came up and just like it was completely hostile, and they were buying it from and he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh shit, and then again Denzel is like, oh, he's serious, and not 5 seconds later in the same scene in the same set they walk up and it's Michael Keaton bringing along the prisoners.
Yeah.
And he's like, tell him what you did. And then they like told him what he did. And everything is out now. And now we're like all like, you know, the truth is out about the plot. And you know, and then like now they're like, oh, and Keanu Reeves was the bad guy, but he's gone. And they're like, oh, and it wasn't Hero, it was this other lady. And you know, they're just basically coming clean about the story. So now Claudio is all like apologetic and he's so sorry to the dad and everything. But I mean, like, so that bubble didn't get a chance to pop either. Like, it was just like Kenneth Branagh's like clash. I don't know how much time it should have been between that and the confession.
Right.
But like that tension was existed for all of like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it just popped. So like, it's almost begs the question: why do it at all?
Yeah.
And so that's like the setup, the time difference between the setup and the domino fall that I'm talking about. Like
the domino fall was
about
not
these functional aspects of this story that like
the
don't really make
dominoes
sense.
didn't like they were like picking up dominoes and throwing them across the room as opposed to like letting them fall, and then like all the dominoes didn't get knocked over. So it's confusing.
Like they're not even set up in the same line.
Right. So they're just
different
like
places.
set up.
Like there's like a 2 domino row, and it's just like set up all.
It's like what? One thing that I was gonna say about not when like. So it's after Claudio and Benedict have their whole thing. Fuck, I can't remember what I was going to say. Keep going. It'll come back to me.
Okay. So now it's all out.
Sorry, I'm thinking about so many things now. This is exciting.
Interrupt me if you...
Yeah, I will. Oh, I will.
But, like, nicely.
Kill Claudio.
So, like, it's all out now, and he's just like, oh, my God, I am so sorry. Oh, my God, I also forgot to say something. Okay, we got to back up just a little bit, but it's important. Like, wish I was Jim Carrey right now, just like backing up.
Wait, do it. Ready? Go.
No.
Oh, come on. That would have been fun.
I'm bad at it.
It's okay.
Okay, so. So right after the wedding is in shambles, and they're all at the wedding, and like Kate Beckinsale gets the right hook. She's crying, got a black eye. all the soldiers are gone. They're just like, we're just gonna go ahead and live out these last awkward 3 weeks before we leave. And the priest comes up.
Oh yeah,
and he comes
this
up,
is what I was going to talk about.
And he comes up to the dad. The dad's crying. The dad believes his daughter now because he's like, well, if she would have confessed by now, like we've destroyed her life, and she's still saying, and I gave her a right hook, and she's still saying she didn't do it, and she seems honest.
Always
and also Emma Thompson, the dad is just getting massaged by a boxing coach. He's like, you got this, champ.
Yeah. The boxing coach is the friar.
And Emma Thompson and aka Beatrice comes up, and he's like, do you not know her? She didn't do it. And then the friar comes up. The friar is like, hey guys, I got it. I got an idea.
God.
We'll tell him that she died. That she died of grief because of this.
Yeah.
And then he'll like he'll feel real bad about it. And then now he'll remember her with like pain and sorrow. That's the best way to solve this, right? And in the meantime, we'll try to prove her innocence. And that's the new ploy that is like starting to build now for the rest of the plot.
And rather than going, you're insane, everyone goes, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, can we...
Comedy!
This is where I wanted... It's funny, comedy. And here's the other thing that makes it very clear to me that this is comedy, Paul. Paul, I have a question for you. Is there another play that many people might be familiar with where a friar suggests that someone pretends to be dead?
I don't know. I know you want me to say yes, and I know it, but I don't know it.
It's Romeo.
It's Romeo and Juliet.
It's Romeo and Juliet, Paul. And a literal friar suggests to a literal girl that she should literally pretend to be dead to solve everything. And you know what got written a couple years before this play, Paul? Romeo and Juliet. So I'm sure that Shakespeare is making fun of himself here, because in Romeo and Juliet, it like kind of makes sense in a dramatic way that she should pretend.
And it's not a comedy.
It is not a comedy. I mean, it's a comedy at the beginning, but then after someone dies, then it becomes a tragedy. But we can talk about that another time. But
Getting real meta.
But it's clearly to me, and I just realized this watching it this time, and not really watching it, but more so thinking about it, that it's him making fun of himself. He wrote that play like 4 or 5 years before Much Ado, so it's him going, what kind of plot point was that? Because I'm sure people would come up to him and be like, what the fuck was that plot point, dude? So it's him making fun of Romeo and Juliet, which is his own play. And he does that in other plays too. I can't think of the examples off the top of my head.
Is it like Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool making fun of Green Lantern?
It's exactly like that! Paul, that is the perfect example. It's exactly like that. So everyone in the audience would have context for Romeo and Juliet, because that's like what they would have seen. Yeah, like it was one of his big shows too. So it's him making fun of that, and I just love it so much, because it's like, because everybody's
It's a deep cut, man.
It's a deep cut, but not for them at the time. But but for us, it's still funny.
Why wasn't Shakespeare writing
ridiculous
for people hundreds of years in the future?
Because he's a dick. But for us, it's still funny because it's still ridiculous that a friar would suggest that.
Still ridiculous.
Still ridiculous.
If it was in a comedy.
If it's in a comedy. Well, I mean, it's ridiculous either way, but it's funny if we play it for that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, like, they didn't play it for comedy at all. It was serious, and everybody was like, yeah, this makes the most sense.
I mean, I feel like there's so much of... I feel like there's so much of people taking themselves too seriously in this play, and in the movie they actually did, and I feel like in the play what it wants us to do is to laugh at them taking themselves so seriously.
And that's what...
And I mean, that's what they're doing at Benedict and Beatrice the whole time.
Yeah.
They're like, it's ridiculous that they're taking their own pride so seriously.
Yeah.
Like, we're laughing at them and we're gonna trick them.
And it's like, it's weird. I wonder, this is another thing I'm just pinging right now, because we were talking about this. We were talking about, like, it's like movies, or like, especially Shakespeare, like, in our opinion, missing the fact that it should have been a comedy and playing it for serious. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's actually a difficult wall to break when you're trying to do comedy in a movie or in like a digital production of something that now people have to watch at home and laugh at. Yeah. Or react to. And it's like trying to do stand-up comedy over like as a video without a live audience. Right. To like, because like in a theater, like you are part of the ecosystem of the theater, and you laugh sometimes because other people laugh. Like the energy in the room will like cue you into what things that are funny. And if on stage a friar was like, I know, we'll pretend you're dead, and that would be so ridiculous that everybody would laugh. Yeah. Like it would almost like be undeniable that it's funny. It would probably almost be impossible to play it seriously. Right. So and I just forgot that there would be no reason to have a stage direction or make it more clear that it's funny, because they only had theater. Right. And I forgot about that, like, just now. And as opposed to, like, well, why isn't it more clear that it's, like, a comedy? How are people missing this? Because it's so obvious. But then when you film it, you lose it. If anybody who's ever been on a film set or, like, been or seen or knows anything about the production process, when you're on the set, you have no idea how it's going to play. No. Like, the edit and, like, all these other filters and processes beyond it could change the tone of every single scene. Yeah, I feel like and I think that when you're thinking about making a film of a Shakespeare production, it's most, if it's funny, it's most helpful to think about other films that are funny or TV shows. Like, the things that have come to mind for us as we're talking about this are Fleabag and The Office. Like, I think those are some really good touch points for if you're creating a film of Much Ado About Nothing. Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, a lot of the stuff is people, like, reacting to what someone's saying that cue you in for it to be funny. So, for instance, if the friar goes,
well, we should pretend that she's dead. We could have like a close-up of Beatrice turning to look at him like what, and then Hero turning to look at him like what, and then Leonardo, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit's funny, even if we just imagine it in our heads.
Yeah.
You just laughed. I'm hilarious. It's not me. It's 100 years of film language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we've established that we know what's funny, and we're the only ones who can say what it is.
We are the international authority on what's funny.
Exactly. Universal.
Certified.
Great. Okay, so we caught up with the friar, and now we go back to Don John's goons. You know, they get carried from prison. There's like, tell him what you did, and he tells them all what they did. And now Claudio is just distraught. He's like, I cannot believe I didn't believe her, even though I kind of didn't know her very much.
Their ploy to make him feel bad is totally working.
Exactly. They're like firing on all cylinders. This plan is going swimmingly. It's like, perfect. Now that I got you right where I want you, for some reason,
you feel bad.
But now I'm going to give you a way out.
It does make sense, kind of.
I guess.
Enough for a comedy.
Exactly. If it was a comedy, okay, we're gonna beat that dead horse.
We'll
So now Claudio's like, I'm so mad at myself. I'm so stupid. I can't believe I didn't believe her. And the dad's like, but wait, I do have another niece, and she looks exactly like Kate Beckinsale.
You sound like an evil witch.
And she looks exactly like Kate Beckinsale. Would you can marry her? And he's like, okay. Just completely accepts another marriage proposal.
Because he feels bad. It's not like because he's like, I'm so excited to marry this chick. He's like,
it's also the whole historical context of like, it's like, you know, dads want to marry their daughters off, and it's like a big gesture. You know, it's also like very transactional as well as being like in love. But I don't know, just the way this movie, like, it would just be so funny if it was played for comedy. Anyway, so so like, sweet, all right, and they like, you know, go to the wedding now. They're, you know, he's walking down the aisle now.
Well, this is round 2. This is wedding round 2, by the way. We just had
exactly. He's like,
which in itself is hilarious.
And all the guests, they had bought all their gifts, and I guess they didn't get any like receipts back. They probably didn't get their gifts back, so they got to bring gifts again. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe they just were like, you already brought one. Maybe they just left them on the table.
I'm joking. I'm just trying to make it
This
funny.
is important, Paul.
So all the guests gotta, you know, get their best clothes on again and come to the wedding and act like they're happy to be there and
take another group shower
and act like this is just as happy as the last time, even though it's like a few days ago. And like, you know, the daughter of like this prestigious person is like dead. I don't know how many people are in on this fucking plot.
I would kill to see a wide shot of the whole crowd in the first scene. It's like, yay, and then the same wide shot of everyone looking slightly more disheveled and grumpy.
Yeah,
I would kill for that.
It's like, oh man, it's like, I don't know, it's so uncomfortable that they played it not funny, because all this does is shine a light on how dispensable the daughter is.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll replace her in a couple days and just fucking marry her off my other one to my other niece. So I got nieces lined up, just like, you know what I mean, like,
right, which is like darkly funny if it's.
But it's just dark now.
Now it's just dark.
And like also weird.
And weird. And doesn't seem to quite make sense to us. If no one, Yeah.
So he's like, all right, so they're going to get married. But all the bride and all the bridesmaids come out in veils. And he's just like, let me see your face, like, before I marry you. Claudio's like, and then the priest's like, no, not until you're married. Marry her first. And so they go... And they're like, oh, will you do it? And like, yeah, I will. And then she lifts up the veil, and he's like, oh, it's not a clone of you, it's you.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm so happy to be married to you still. I don't know why she wants to be married with him. And then the dad is like...
Well, if he didn't throw her to the ground, maybe.
Right? Like, and the dad... And so he's like, I thought you dead. And the dad's like, she was dead while her slander lived. And it's like
clever.
She's
Dad.
Voldemort and the slander is Harry Potter. Only one can live while the other survives.
Neither can live while the other survives.
Neither can live while the other survives.
Both can live while either survives.
Sorry,
no, you're good.
I don't know language.
I thought it was funny. It's ridiculous. It's like I feel like it would be so funny if, you know, like, even if like the crowd is like, yes, and then Beatrice is like, what? Like, yeah. I just feel like someone needs to, or not needs to, but it would be funny if somebody pinged that as like, that's ridiculous.
But nobody does, and so the audience, so the movie is telling, so nobody in the movie or no element of the movie is telling us that any of these things are funny or like out of the norm. We just live in this crazy, bizarre world, and it's telling the audience like, this is reality, guys.
Yeah, and like, then we don't buy it.
Yeah, you can't read into things that are supposed to be funny. Like, it's like you have to explain to me why that's funny. I don't know how Kenneth Brannagh sees it, but I just... It's not,
I think dramatically
it's not good.
is the answer.
Not good. Not right. I'm sorry. I know it's art, but that's wrong, and I'm right.
That's what this podcast is all about, Paul.
Exactly. So, and then, Kenneth Brannagh has like one last, like I feel like I directed this. I get the last word, but I guess he was. I don't know. I just can't take out the fact every time he does something, he's like, I directed this. I'm the director. Everyone, look at me now. But him and Beatrice have like their last like stand, and they're like, oh, we love each other, but also we're gonna still make fun of each other.
I love that part. I think it's great that they're both so like still prideful.
Exactly. I thought it was funny, but I mean,
I think it could have been played funnier. But I love it because it's like there's a line, and I don't know if it's in this scene, but it's thou and I are too wise to woo peaceably. Like we have too much wit, so we can't just be like, I love you.
Yeah, our relationship has to be a contentious love. Yeah.
Fuck you. Love you. Can't relate to that at all.
So yeah, and so they have that, and they both had written letters like in private to each other, professing their love, and they as soon as the wedding is over, Kate Beckinsale and like everybody else like immediately goes back to normal teasing them about, oh, you guys love each other.
Totally.
Here's each other's letters. Now you get to read them.
Yeah. So Beatrice has written this poem about Benedict, which Hero has stolen and gives to Benedict, and then vice versa for Benedict. And so in my mind, it should be just like this knockdown, drag-out fight where they're trying to get the letter away from each other. Because they basically, at the end, they stand up and they're like, well, I was joking. I didn't really love her. I didn't really love him. And then they're like, I know you love him. See, I have written proof right here.
Yeah.
It's like a weird murder mystery of love.
Yeah.
Which I love. I think it's so funny. I in my mind, I want that to be like a big fight. And they're just kind of like, oh, what's this?
I know. It's really weird. Like, I feel like those characters should be super immature. Mm-hmm. They should be super... Yeah, they're just totally outwardly focused,
antagonistic
on what everybody else thinks.
Yeah,
and so their image is super important to them of like how they're perceived. But they're so extreme about it that it's see through, which is funny. And yet they give them like these positions of like kind of like reverence, and they're kind of like they seem like adults, and I feel like they shouldn't. They should seem like they seem I don't know. Very extreme. And then just to tie it all up, they walk Keanu back in for one scene. In the exact same scene, they walk him right back out.
And also the whole thing
like you caused all this, and now you're in trouble. And he's like, all right, and they walk him out. Like literally, that was the stage direct. That was the scene on the set. They're like two guys walk him in, and everybody's trained to look, and they just wanted to show him off. Just like, we got him, and walk him back out.
That's really funny. What's actually supposed to be happening is that he's raising like an army to come take them down. And that's why he's in trouble. Like, he's so mad at his brother that he's like, I'm gonna freaking make a war against you now. And I think the funny part there is supposed to be everyone's like, oh no, we'll deal with him tomorrow. Celebrate.
I know, that's what they say. They're like the brother is like, we got him, and he's like, oh, we'll punish him tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it should have been like oh, more war. Oh, we'll do it tomorrow.
Right, exactly. It's like it should be like, oh, your brother is revolting against you. Oh my god. We'll deal with it tomorrow. We just got married. Which is a great, funny way to end a play, especially one that's like about the intermediary peacetime between war and other war.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so the movie ends, and like again, the whole town is like celebrating now, like a big celebration shot. But like again, it seems kind of forced. I don't know. Like all the beats that were supposed to hit feels like me having a conversation with someone who just told a joke and wants me to laugh at it. It's just like I'm like,
but also does it.
Yeah, I know. No, like it's the same feeling, but the movie didn't try to tell a joke.
The movie trying to be serious, and I'm like, oh.
It's like when someone tells me it's like someone's telling me a conspiracy theory, and they're like, "You right?" And they finish all their whole spiel, and it sounds ridiculous, and they're like, "Right?" And I'm like, and you kind of like feel pressured to agree, even though you don't. It's kind of awkward. I feel like a lot of that happened to me during watching this.
I think bottom line, I'm just really excited to watch these two other productions of Much Ado that I'm thinking about now that I know are filmed that aren't film versions. They're actual stage versions. I'm thinking of like a David Tennant one.
Yeah.
And I told you how much I love his Hamlet.
Yeah.
And also there's this one that they did that was like an outdoor Shakespeare in the Park one in New York that's supposed to be really good that I haven't seen. That would be fun to watch with you. So I feel like this was valuable though because it was really cool for me to see you see where this could be better.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this play is
it's valuable for me too. It made me feel like a little bit.
I feel like you get me now. Like, this is the torture that I live day to day in my life, but it's not torture.
I mean,
it's me learning from
and me. I'm learning too. Like, you just learn just as much from negative things as positive.
Absolutely.
I mean, like the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
But
there are good things in this. Like, I really like Keanu as Don John. I thought that was really fun. I like Emma Thompson. I didn't love her in this role, but she's really fun to watch, even if I didn't like her in this role.
They're great actors in this role.
Yeah.
But like, I just thought, again, the overall vision was super unclear, which trickled down to every single decision in the movie.
Yeah, I thought Kate Beckinsale was delightful, and I thought that the decision to make her, even if she's not young, but look young and like kind of immature, especially compared to Beatrice, was a good decision. So
I agree.
I just wish things had played out a little different.
So that's this movie. What are some like thoughts? I had some like a few notes of things I wanted to talk about, but we did like just really stuff that summary with like everything we kind of thought about it.
We covered a lot. I was looking at my notes and I talked about everything except for one thing.
I wanted to talk about one thing specifically though.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about comedy in general.
Yeah.
And where it fits into like a serious movie.
Yeah.
And it made me think of like Marvel movies and the first Avengers movie, and arguably.
I'm sorry, we didn't talk about that yet. I do want to talk about that. Yeah.
Arguably 2008 Iron Man, but really the first Avengers movie, 2012, directed by Joss Whedon, because he's not the first person to do this, but it was really like you could mark it as that kind of like the norm in Marvel movies that take these huge world-ending stakes and pepper it with a lot of comedy and really knock both of those tones out of the park.
Yeah.
And switch seamlessly back in between them.
And I think in general, Joss Whedon's great at that.
Exactly. And it's difficult to, like, if you don't understand comedy enough and the different types of it and different ironic situations, which I'm not like an expert on, but like I think I understand it enough to see where they fit and when it works and when it doesn't.
Yeah.
And like certain types, because like humor is in general considered like a cheap form of art, because and sometimes it can be, because it's like it's taking the easy cheap shot or the low shot at like within the production, as opposed to like situational humor, which tends to stand the test of time.
Yeah,
because it's completely all encompassing and it doesn't ever really take away from the story. Like, it's certain things you're just picking something that is ridiculous to the audience, or maybe or maybe like certain different characters are feeling different things about the same situation, and it is funny, but you can immediately jump back into the story after that. It doesn't necessarily like have to halt it.
Absolutely. And the reason for that is that it's very human. It's human to have those moments where we're in a really intense situation and we have to laugh about it to let out some of the tension. Because if we don't let out that tension, we're going to explode. We're going to throw an angry fit like Claudio does. Or and I think that it's super important to have comedy in art, especially serious art, because that's just, it's human nature. And I think even more so than that, it's important to recognize the ridiculousness of human behavior sometimes.
What was that quote that you had read?
So the quote this is one of my favorite quotes by Joss Whedon and in general. So Joss Whedon said, "Make it dark, make it grim, make it tough, but then for the love of God, tell a joke," which I think is so true. And now we're just kind of talking about art in general and storytelling in general, but I think that a great example of that is the scene where we have Hero being dishonored, and it's devastating.
Yeah.
And it's really bad, and I think, I really think that is one of the moments in this play that should be played dramatically, even though most of it should be comedy. But we have that, make it dark, make it grim, make it tough, and then we have a friar go, "Well, why don't you just pretend you're dead?" So
I got it.
Right,
light bulb, yeah.
Which is still funny to us today, even if we don't get that Romeo and Juliet reference. It's amazing. So
but in the movie, I was mad because it was like supposed to be serious. I'm like, if it's serious, and that doesn't work.
Right, and I think that it's, I don't know. I just think that we're smart enough to. We're smart enough, and people always talk about range with actors, but I think people assume less range with the audience, that it's like, well, that was serious, so it needs to be serious. The audience has range too. Like, we in our own lives do that same thing. Like, if we're dealing with a coronavirus right now in March of 2020, that's where we are in time, then we're gonna make jokes about it, because we gotta go a little crazy to stay sane. We gotta look at the ridiculousness of the situation in order to help ourselves cope. It's a coping mechanism. And I think that, we recognize that. And it's something that we deal with in our lives. So if we see characters on stage dealing with things serious using humor, things that are serious using humor, then we can relate to that, and it sparks empathy in us. And at the same time, if we see people dealing with, really serious shit for 4 hours, and they don't crack a joke once about like, well, this sucks, like even that, then we don't really believe it, because that's not what we do as people.
No, I totally agree. I don't think I've ever seen, out of all the productions I've ever seen, I don't think I remember one that took itself seriously the entire time and was still good. Like, that I didn't think was like kind of up its own ass a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it seemed to be like a trope for a reason.
Yeah, and sometimes the funniest things are the things that are not literally up their own ass, but hilariously all the characters are up their own ass.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of characters in this play that are up their own ass.
And it's so funny. It's so segmented of how and why and where you can do it that's why it's so difficult to categorize, because you can't give like this one rule that will, like one specific rule that will guide you through. It's only like general concepts, like to make it dark. Like that's a super vague set of maxims.
For sure.
Make it dark, whatever, and tell a joke. Like you have to just kind of be a human and understand and like live in a world, and then like, it's such a complex.
The bottom line too is asking, what would I actually do in this situation? Like, if my boss came to me and said this shit about, I want to flirt with this girl.
What kind of boss would do that, and what kind of person would agree to that?
Right, and also, how would I feel? Bottom line, how would I feel if my boss did that? I'd be like, no, that's ridiculous. And I feel like even just that gives us a baseline.
But even that, like, and if you don't, if he would go along with it, then that would change the character he is.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So like going back to this functional recognition of how functional a story kind of is. How many nuts and bolts it actually has. It's not so. There is wiggle room, but there's it's not so, I guess, mysterious, or like that's the point. It's, you have the list of things that this character did and the list of things the character said, and you have to fill in those cracks with what kind of person would do those things.
It's your blueprint.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out.
If you break it so much, then nothing else makes sense.
Right, absolutely, because you can choose different paths, but you really have to hit all these stepping stones.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of snake your way through those different like pieces you're hitting correctly, but at the end, Claudio's marrying Hero. Like, that's what happens at the end of this play. And
it's like character continuity as opposed to physical continuity.
If we lead him off the path, it's hard to get him back to it.
How did he get there?
Yeah, exactly.
Word. Okay, that was one thing. We talked about what pastoral meant. We kind of talked about this, but it went to, like, so when I was in the Coast Guard, there'd be like a lot of like port calls at different places.
Yeah.
And every town, especially like we'd stop in like Mexico or something, and like that town would be profoundly affected by like the 150 people pouring into the city for a weekend. They're repressed. They're like want some fun.
Mm-hmm.
They have extra money in their pocket. And and it's just interesting to like think about, these people coming back from war into this town. At first, I thought it was like the town, like the law of the land, the town had to house all the soldiers, because that's how war worked a lot of times.
Right.
Like wherever the soldier stopped, the village had to provide. Mm-hmm. That's how they got their provisions and stuff like that.
That's why it's in our Constitution.
Yeah.
So you can't do that.
So at first I thought that was happening, and so I thought that was like that was clocked in my kind of like rear view for a while. But you said that's not the case. So.
It's not the case, but the vibe and the environment you're talking about, I think, is really relevant. It's like all of a sudden, all of these like young men are here in this town.
The town that it's like 9-to-1 women.
Yes, apparently, I guess. So weird. But like, suddenly all these guys are here. What does that mean? How does that change our entire ecosystem?
It. Trying to marry all our daughters off to these dudes.
Yeah. And apparently we've got a lot.
They're super
love to shower together.
And if one dies, just bring in the next cousin.
Bring in the next one. Yeah. I have a very specific one I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
It's just funny. It's not anything deep. So in the scene, and I had not noticed this line before, but I think it's another thing you can play for comedy. In the scene where Claudio is saying, "Dishonor on you!" woman, hero, he says, I loved you like we were brother and sister.
That was really weird. I double took that.
Look at what you've done. And I think that should be funny.
Oh man, I gotta get the quote specifically. We'll put the quote at the end. And it was like, as like a brother. Oh man, it's like.
And there's even
brother as a brother loves his sister and with comely love or some shit like that.
Which is like
we were both like did a spit take. We're like, what the fuck did he just say?
Shakespeare's not stupid. Like that man is made of double entendres. I think that's absolutely supposed to be a joke. And if it's not, let's play it as a joke because it's fucking funny.
Yeah, man, that was and everybody was just like in that serious moment, like we were watching The Dark Knight or something.
Yeah. You're like my sister. What? Excuse me?
Like, yeah, I would imagine that'd be funny if like everybody in the audience was like, I mean, love her. Like,
yeah, right. God, yeah.
But anyway, that's all I got.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch different versions of this down the road.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that too. I'm sorry that I didn't realize this was also.
I mean, we learned some stuff.
Similar, yeah, but I think so too. I think I feel like I gained a lot just from this conversation.
That's cool. Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Paul Stafford.
And I'm Chloe Baldwin, and I hope the gap just got a little bit smaller.
Bye.
As a brother to his sister, showed bashful sincerity and comely love.
Thanks for listening to Shakeshero. You can check out our website and email us your suggestions at shakeshero.com, or you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at the handle Shakeshero. We're on Spotify and Apple Music, so please review, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode.